Gentlemen, I would like to call the Wednesday, March 18th, 2015 council meeting to order. It's approximately 6:17 p.m. This evening we'll have the invocation by Pastor Brock Schiffer, pastor of Speedway Community Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with Vice Mayor Shelley and the Police Explorers. Would you please stand?
I've had the privilege of sitting in this room for the last hour. You want to know what's right with Homestead? You've just witnessed it. We have a lot of things to thank God for, so let's go to Him now. Father God, we thank you. We thank you. In your word, it teaches us that you will bless the country that makes you Lord. Father, may I be bold enough this evening to proclaim that may this city make you Lord, and you will bless us. Father, you are using so many of us. I'm seeing the east side of Homestead come with the west side, as I haven't seen in 10 years. I've seen so many good things starting to happen, and it's trite to say sometimes that our best years are still ahead, but Father God, our best years, Homestead, Florida City's best years are ahead because we're making that so. So may we this evening, in all the decisions that we make, and all of you that are leaders in leadership capacities throughout this community, if you will seek God first and foremost in your decision making, then this city's best days are way right around the corner, and may we, as always, leave Homestead better than we found it. And God bless you. Thank you.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Burgess? Here. Councilman Maldonado?
Present.
Councilman Williams?
Here.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Here.
Mayor Porter?
Here.
Councilwoman Wallman is absent due to passing of a close family friend tonight. And Councilwoman Fairclough?
Here.
Item 3 is public comments. You're welcome to come forward now and speak in the public comment section. Please put your name and address for the record, please.
Mayor, point of clarification.
Mr. Williams?
Are you going to read this decorum policy so those who are making public comments will know what we have established?
I guess we could. Mr. Attorney, you want to read the policy?
I think that would be
Thank you.
prudent. Thank you.
Any person making impertinent or slanderous remarks or who becomes boisterous while addressing the council shall be barred from further audience before the council by the mayor unless permission to continue or again address the council be granted by the majority vote of the council members present. No clapping, applauding, heckling, or verbal outbursts in support or opposition to a speaker or his or her remarks shall be permitted. No signs or placards which may harm or obstruct the view of others shall be allowed in the council chambers. Persons exiting the council chambers so do so quietly.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor.
Go right ahead.
Hi, we are the Homestead Mayor's Youth Council, presented to you by Councilwoman Patricia Fairclough, and we would like to announce a thing that we're doing, opportunity for Homestead seniors to gain scholarships and money towards the scholarships. We call it Coins for College. And what are we doing? We are putting jars, these types of jars, in local restaurants and businesses, and for your coins, dimes, nickels, pennies, you can either put $1 into it. This monies will go into the scholarships for a local high school senior. The requirement so far, you have to have a 3-point GPA, at least 200 hours of community service, as well as be a local senior being college bound. And that's about it. And that's it. So when you walk into a restaurant and you see these, please help donate, because these can be, the next senior going into college, and we would really appreciate if you guys would donate.
Young man, Mayor, point of personal privilege. Yes, what's your name again?
Ernest Donaldson?
Ernest Donaldson.
Yes.
And you, what are you all's goals and expectation as far as how much money you trying to raise?
We really don't have a goal. Anything can help. Anything that you donate will really help towards the scholarships.
You can put me down for $500 personally.
Thank you.
All right.
Through the mayor.
Ms. Fairclough?
Thank you. I'd like to applaud the Mayor's Youth Council for endeavoring to provide scholarships to local seniors in the Homestead community. And the amount, all of the proceeds that they generate from this Coins for College campaign, they will distribute $500 increment scholarships to local seniors residing in the Homestead community. So thank you, Councilman Williams, for providing at least one scholarship to local children in this community. If you have that extra change or dollars and you would like to support the Youth Council, these jars can be found in Chefs on the Run, Kai's Realty, Robux, and did I miss anyone?
El Toro Taco?
El Toro Taco.
Can I have one in my office?
Robert is here.
Robert is here.
Can I put one in my office?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
And if there are any
Ms.
other
Beckles.
businesses that would like to house one of our jars that they personally created, this is their show. I'm just helping them to facilitate. I would greatly appreciate it. If you would like to write a check like Councilman Williams just did, we greatly appreciate that as well. And thank you so much for supporting your constituents to youth in this community.
And Mayor, point of
Yes, sir.
first person again. Who do we make checks out to? City of Homestead. All right. I'm believing in our future, and I'm investing in our future. $500.
Thank you and good luck. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Albert Livingston, and I'm your friendly neighborhood tree farmer. And I wanted to keep this in a positive note. And I have a surplus of some trees that I would like to donate to the city. So if maybe Dennis wants to give me a call, maybe we can do something. That's it. My address is 31501 Southwest 197th Avenue in Homestead.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon or good evening to everyone. My name is Sheila George. I'm a concerned citizen of the Florida area. I live in the Cutler Bay area, 20340 Southwest 116 Road. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak here. May God watch over this council and bless it with wisdom. While there are many, many noble officers in this city, there are also officers in every city who violate rights of citizens, oftentimes with impunity. Many are afraid to file a complaint, as filing complaints often goes nowhere and may bring retaliation at times. As a longtime resident, I want to bring this to the attention of the mayor, council, and good citizens of this city. I am deeply, deeply concerned over the decorum policy. Honorable Mayor Potter, You already possess authority to maintain order and decorum at these meetings. See City of Homestead Resolution Number R2013-09-84, Section 2, Part B, Paragraph 2. This resolution was passed so the city would be in accordance with Florida HB 50, mandating a minimum opportunity for public comment at public meetings. The proposal cuts not just at the heart of the resolution and HB 50, it attacks principles lying at the core of the First Amendment. Honorable Mayor Porter, you told us repeatedly you would open dialogue and not shut it down. You promised to make the city open and transparent. However, to do such, you must allow criticism. Criticism is absolutely necessary to a healthy democracy. This proposal seems more aimed at restricting speech critical of government than at ensuring the meeting runs smoothly and in a civil fashion. We are all fully aware of who this policy is specifically directed at. However, as an unintended consequences, you will likely chill the speech rights of others who are already shy about speaking up. Thank you. I would advise you to think hard before you go through with this knee-jerk reaction. The public comment section was created as an unlimited public forum. This allows only reasonable time, manners, or place restrictions. It has been open to allow citizens to speak with their elected representatives. However, the prohibition on making impertinent comments appears to be an unlawful content-based restrictions and open to selective enforcement. What can be considered impertinent if it relates to city business? Who will make such a determination? 2, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that the proper redress to slander is to file a civil suit, not to create unlawful prior restraint. Further, who will make the determination of it the utterance is slander? What definition will be used? The legal definition? Will we consider opinions different than our defamation? 3, the prohibition on boisterous communication is vague and valuable to selective enforcement. If there was boisterous praise from a group or individual in support of city, an official or employee, it would be embraced. And indeed, we have seen just that in public comment sections. Who will make the determination? I ask you to ponder these questions and reconsider this proposal. Thank you for your time and God bless. And the reason I got up to speak was because I am one of those people who have at times been attacked because I spoke up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Steve Williams. I reside in Sky Vista, Northeast Ninth Court, and I would like to bring up an issue which has become increasingly irritating, at least in my part of the city, which is this epidemic of shopping cart theft. The shopping carts are being stolen as a matter of routine and then being left to clutter up the landscape. Is there any way this can be addressed?
Sir, you can come see me, and then I can get your address, and I can send our QRT quick response team, and we pick up shopping carts throughout the city, and we can have that cleaned up for you.
I would appreciate it. I did want to call this problem to the attention of the council because it seems to be growing. It's not an occasional thing. It's like an epidemic of shopping cart kleptomania. Thank you.
Mayor?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams?
Yeah, quick question. Dennis, the area in which he is referring to, the QRT, is that part of their area in which they do every day? I know you have, we have three trucks, three crews. Is that one of the areas in which they deal with every day or no?
No, sir, it's not. But if we get a call or a complaint, we try to go to them areas right away.
Okay.
More or less the corridors through the city. Sky Vista is probably in the alleyway, which we don't hit. We just hit the Campbell Drive, but we'll take care of any kind of complaints. Councilman.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor, distinguished members of the council, Mr. Manager. My name is Maria Garza. I live in 101 Northeast 19th Street, Homestead, Florida. And first of all, I want to thank Councilwoman Faircloth for recognizing the leadership of these beautiful women, beautiful inside and out, and for their tremendous leadership in this community. Second, I just want to take a second to invite members of the council, and I know some of you are already joining us, but the rest of the public, to the Mexican American Council annual Farm Worker Student Scholarship Golf Tournament. We are going to hold this tournament on April the 17th at Redland Golf and Country Club. And just like we saw earlier here today, the purpose is to raise funds for scholarships. Every time we do something to raise the education level of our community, to give our children opportunity, we win as a community. So that's all we're trying to do. I'm going to leave the application and the invitation here, but it's coming up. It's to have fun, come and enjoy the mariachi, come and sing with us, come and play with us, come and donate, and just have a wonderful time. Friday, April 17 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon at Redland Golf and Country Club. So we're looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Manager. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. My name is Dr. James Eric McDonough. I live at 32320 Southwest 199th Avenue. Honorable Mayor Porter, all I can say is that I'm humbled and deeply honored that my simple words would move you to change to the point where you would change the policy. Here, it appears that I've made the front story of the front page of the local newspaper, and I was not even getting credit. But to be honest, I believe that you deserve it all. Let me remind you of your statements. And to not take you out of context, you were asked by a reporter, since Mayor Bateman had been arrested for corruption, what you were doing to help regain the trust of the citizens and make the conversation more open. To not misquote you, let me play part of your response.
I let the dialogue take place. I don't shut down the dialogue. I think what I've been able to do is give people the freedom to express their opinion, as opposed to having their opinion, squashed or berated for having a different idea than myself or you. So it's just opening the dialogue.
In the meetings and then outside of the meetings?
Honorable Mayor Porter, I guess at this point, the penultimate question I would have for you is, do you feel that your actions at the last two meetings and your recent proposal comport with the high standards which you have established for yourself with your own words?
Your comments.
Okay. From my position, it humbly appears there's a constitutionally ignorant presiding officer receiving inadequate advice from attorneys, fighting an upcoming First Amendment rights activist. You might want to ask the state's attorney's office how them threatening me against my First Amendment rights on behalf of Chief Roll is working out for them. It will likely be a prelude to what will happen in the future. If you think any of my statements I've made are improper or your knowledge of the Constitution is sufficient, please pass this simple civics test. Can you state what specific rights are protected in the First Amendment?
These are your comments.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I figured you couldn't. Honorable Mayor Porter, you also said you would not allow slanderous, false, or inaccurate statements at last month's meeting. However, you then immediately made false and inaccurate statements about my actions and intentions. This is backed up clearly on the video. You even stated that you knew what I was going to say and also implied you knew what my motives are. Are you able to read mine, sir?
These are your comments.
The only person that I've seen make slanderous comments at these meetings is you. And the only person I've seen to be boisterous, rude, and disruptive is Manager Gretzis. Will you ban yourselves or at least offer me an apology? Okay, thank you for your uncooperation. Have a good night.
Thank you. Mr. Powell.
Good evening, Edward Powell, 745 Southeast 18th Lane in Homestead. I got 6 things, but I'll keep it short because it's a long meeting. I'll have 2. First one is, how many people in the audience have ever heard of Toastmasters? Toastmasters, it's not a chef cooking class. It is a club that's worldwide. And we have one in Homestead. It's Homestead Toastmasters Club. And for the 4th year in a row, we are having our 2nd annual open house, which will be next Tuesday, March 24th. We meet at the Community Bank headquarter building on Biscayne and Newton Drive, 7:30 in the morning. If you ever wanted to get in front of a group of people and have the confidence of getting up in front of those people and speaking with intelligence, being clear, being concise, you need Toastmasters. I needed it. I go to it every week, and I'm looking out the rearview mirror. Most of you guys are still looking out the front of the mirror. I'm looking out the back. And I also want to say that we've had a couple of council people that have been Toastmasters. Councilwoman Patricia Faircloth was one of our founding members. She blesses us with her appearance on occasion. Councilman Maldonado, he came to one of ours and added a little spice to it. So I will leave on the back some flyers if you're interested. And what I would like to do, Mayor, at some point is maybe for your little happy hour, we call it, at 5 o'clock, maybe put on a Toastmasters for the city, for you, for your group. Put it on here so you all can see what Toastmasters will do for you. Second item, Mr. Brea, question for you. I've had in about the last 3 months, I go to turn on my shower and I wait about 3 minutes till some water comes out of the shower. And when I turn on my faucet in the morning, I get a and then I get some water. So I've asked the question, where did my water pressure go? Well, I've got various answers. I've got a self-appointed czar in Northgate who said that the city has reduced the water pressure from 75 pounds to 25. Well, everybody I've talked to, including the Keys Water Bureau, 65 is the minimum water pressure. So we really need what's going on with the pressure. And I think what we really need to address is the use of that water, not the pressure of it. Could you tell me, do we have a pressure problem?
No, we don't. Basically, what we do in the city, we do control the pressure of the water lines, and the reason we do that is is multifaceted. Basically, is to avoid line breakages and also reduce the amount of usage of water, because the more pressure you have in your system, the more you're going to waste when, during flushing, etc. So those items are really the driving force behind the pressure that we have. Right now, throughout the city, we have a pretty level pressure of around 45 PSI. That's what we keep throughout the day, all the time. 45 PSI, which is 25 PSI, that's pressure per square inch, pounds per square inch. It's 25 pounds per square inch more than the minimum standard that's required by South Florida Water Management District. The pressure that they require you to have is 20 PSI basically at every fire hydrant, and we have 45. So we're basically at double that. We used to have 55. We were never up to 65, or we can't, because we basically rely on our water tanks, the elevation of our water tanks to basically, that's what provides the pressure for us. So what we're doing is basically 2 things. Is because of water conservation mostly that we're doing this. The South Florida Water Management District is urging all cities, not cities but utilities, to basically lower pressures to a level where they work. And 45 to us, it's double what they actually prefer. They would like us to be even lower. So we're at 45. We're keeping it there. And that's the idea, is to try to reduce the amount of water that we're taking out of the Biscayne aquifer, which is a limited source of water right now. And if we don't do this, what will happen is the saltwater intrusion will come in from the ocean and basically contaminate our water wells. And once that happens, we would have to go to another type of treatment, which costs around 5 times what we pay now for water treatment, which will result in higher rates. So we're trying to avoid that from happening. Not only us, but the region as a whole is trying to do the same thing.
Well, here's what I think the solution is besides that. The solution is to make people aware of the use of that water. You turn on the shower, you fool around, the shower's running till it gets warm, you leave the water running while you're doing your teeth, you're pouring your coffee. It's that water, it costs 1 unit to filter it, it costs 3 to treat it. Happened to be in a water treatment business a lot of my life. So 1 to 3. So 3 times that good water goes into the sewer that gets treated and it's good water. That doesn't make sense. What South 8 water management people do, the people that are in that group have buckets. When they turn on their shower, they got a bucket in the shower and it collects that water and they take it outside and they water the plants with it. It doesn't go into the sewer, it waters the plants. That's what we need to do. We do a great job with our utility bills, explaining electrical rates and charts and graphs. What we need to do is convince people water is a precious commodity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Greetings, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. 3 meetings ago, I had posed a question regarding the allowance of pocket knives coming into the meetings. I have not yet received any response to that. My name is Matthew Oakey. I'm a citizen of Homestead.
Mr. Mayor, I believe that James White responded to that at the last meeting, which is that we've reviewed the regulations that we have. We think that they're appropriate.
Your regulations are in direct conflict with state statute. I was given no other regulations pertaining to that would.
Yeah, we've reviewed our
balance it.
regulations and we think that they are in line with the state statutes.
You think they are? Very good. Also, I have one other thing I'd like to bring to your attention. The past history of one of the city employees. This particular employee has not shown himself to be the high caliber that we, the city, demand. His past history of being in at least 8 accidents in police vehicles, generating at least 6 injury reports. He's got a past record of making at least 5 or 6 statements to his supervisors and at least 1 false statement to the state attorney's office. This officer has a history of overreacting to the public, documented, and was almost held in contempt of court for being disrespectful to a judge. A sustained IA report stated that he wrote 3 tickets in retaliation with malicious intent and without lawful authority, a 3rd-degree felony for official misconduct. This officer was then forced to resign from Hialeah Police Department, while under investigation for violation of their policy. Further, when he applied for work here at the Homestead Police Department, he lied on his application about drug use and his polygraph, within his polygraph for the employment. How can we as a government and as a people of the city tolerate an employee who knowingly lies about drug use during employment, especially one who is a police officer? We, the citizens, demand higher standard for our servants. This police officer is Alejandro Muguido, and I have documentation to substantiate what I've offered.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon to all of you. My name is Cipriano Garza. I live at 101 Northeast 19th Street here in Homestead. Mr. Mayor and council members, I want to come by today and say thank you to all of you. Your job's not easy. Homestead continues to grow. We're very diverse, but all of you are doing a super job, and you need to know that. All of you who sit up there, you have an incredibly difficult job, and I want to say thank you from all of us here in Homestead. To our city manager and administrative staff, thank you also. It's not easy. To govern is not easy. And we are able to maintain a very peaceful community thanks to our police department. I'm always saying Chief Roll is doing a wonderful job, and he is. We are blessed. This is not Ferguson. This is not other parts of the country where there's a lot of turmoil and a lot of problems. So, Mr. Mayor, I want to come by tonight and just say thank you to all of you, the elected officials, to the city manager and his staff, all the police officers of Homestead, Chief Roll, all of you commanders and all you majors. From me and the community, thank you very much, and God bless all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Mark LeCue, and I'm a concerned citizen. Honorable Mayor Porter, City Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Just a few moments ago, something caught my attention with the presentation that I believe Mr. Oki made with regard to one of your police officers, I believe Al Magrudo. Is that correct? Alejandro Magrudo? And I know that this is a comment section, but I also know that this issue has been brought forth to the council before, and the legalities of the accusations made about Officer Magrudo have been presented to most all members of the council. And I was wondering, I know this is a comment section from the public, but is there a chance that we could get some sort of feedback with regard to this issue, since it has come up numerous times? And we as a society down here in Southern Florida, we address corruption inside our political realms quite often. I'm new to this state as of 3 years. I moved here 3 years ago. And it was shocking to me as an ex-sheriff's deputy, the number of times that the word corruption is listed hand in hand with either the police or our public officials. And for my part, it's hard when there's no feedback. And so we come to these public meetings and we anticipate some sort of resolution, or at least some sort of recognition that these issues are real and true. And I was just hoping that there would be some sort of address or rebuttal with regard to this particular issue, because I've heard it a number of different times. Police that have been mentioned inside IA, inside other departments, officers that have been named with regard to corruption, destruction of records, harassment, false accusations, false statements.
I must object to this because, again, specific names of personnel are being mentioned without people being here to defend themselves. It's not appropriate for people to be smeared in public with half-truths and half-facts, and this is just not appropriate. It's not fair to the individuals to be attacked in public on the floor without any opportunity to defend themselves, and to have people come that do not have a tenth of the facts to come here and publicly accuse people. It's just completely inappropriate.
With regard to
Mark,
that,
let me ask you one question.
Sir.
Could you put your address on the record, please?
Yes, I will. Although, again, as the first speaker came forward, there are issues of reprisal that people in this community are hesitant about. But 1523 North Bluebird Lane is my address. For further information, or if you'd like to speak to me further, that'd be great. I'd love to talk to anyone who'd come by. But again,
Mayor, if I could just also mention for the record that some of the individuals that have spoke about these specific issues have submitted documentation, or at least letters and emails, to the police department, to internal affairs, to the state attorney's office, to the county police. They have made their case, and they've had numerous conversations with a whole host of law enforcement, and they have the information they have. And so nobody has ignored them. They have made their case, and in most cases, people that they're accusing have not been charged with anything. They have not been, so to try them on the floor of this council is not really appropriate.
But with regard to Florida statutes and law, many of those statutes have not been followed in the investigation process because of people hiding behind this cloak of, oh, well, we have this policy or we have that SOP, and instead of following the law and the legalities of what the Florida public has voted on and said, hey, this is what we need to do in order to maintain some accountability with our police force, they have instead decided to fall back on policy that either doesn't exist or procedures that do not fall in line with Florida statute. And so when people come forward and say, hey, you know, we'd really like some answers to this because this has not been addressed correctly by the state. It has not been addressed correctly by the police department. It has not been addressed correctly by even, I believe, Mayor Porter. This is a serious concern. When you have the men and women who are set aside to protect and serve, who are hiding behind a cloak of false policy, and they get away with actually preying upon those that they're supposed to serve, you're in a police state. There's no accountability. When you say, oh, well, we have this procedure, and it doesn't fall in line with Florida statute, that's a problem. That deserves public comment. That deserves a public address with regard to that and an answer to it.
Let me get Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Let me ask a question. Even in the decorum policy, is this the same that the county has adopted as well? So what we are looking at now is the same policy in which the county, Miami-Dade County, uses within their integrity of their process of running meetings. So we're just really following the county. Am I right, Mr. Attorney?
I haven't compared it word for word, but it's very close. In other cities, this language was taken from other cities who use it. And the mayor and I have had long discussions about this policy. The purpose of it is to set a tone for the meeting. It's not intended to be penal. It's not intended to cut people off. But on the other hand, it is intended to set a tone for people of what we expect and what we don't expect. And the mayor and I have had, long conversations about how this will be enforced, and that it needs to be enforced, very sparingly. The idea is, I know that from the comments that I had from the mayor, he is committed to an open dialogue, and this is not intended to cut that off. But at some point, the dialogue does cross the line and becomes disruptive to the meeting, and that's the purpose of the policy.
And I apologize if I was disruptive. And again, you brought up the term slanderous, and I beg to differ. No comment that was made here was slanderous to anyone. Not that I'm aware of. I know that a name was mentioned, but if you're going to slander somebody, you have to speak falsely. And because of the amount of evidence with regard to that, and public record evidence with regard to that officer, none of the statements that were made were slanderous at all. So if there is public record stating that an officer has done this and done that and has lied and has caused accidents and has continually broken the law, lied to superiors, lied to judges, falsified statements, and that's a matter of public record, then that is not slander, sir. Am I wrong?
Mayor, I think the people that have come up to speak believe in public discourse, and I respect that. I also respect the right of employees who have a right to not have their reputations smeared in a public meeting. There are avenues for these individuals if they have criminal complaints against any individual that works for the city, which I understand. They have gone through the process. They've afforded themselves of all of the avenues that are available to them to make their complaints against city employees. And again, I would just say nobody's been arrested, nobody's been indicted. So just because somebody makes an accusation doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that the person is guilty. It doesn't mean that it's right for an employee to have their reputations dragged through the mud at a public meeting. That's not an equal playing field here. That's not fair. So I would just say that if somebody wants to express themselves, terrific. I think, Mayor, you've done everything you can to encourage that. But on the other hand, if somebody wants to name a name of an employee and then accuse them of all kinds of wrongdoing as if it is fact, when in fact nobody's determined that there's anything that they're saying that is even true, I just don't think that. I think that's a violation of the employee's rights.
However, the public does deserve the right to know who they're being protected by. Alejandro Magruder was suspended for 120 days at least from the Hialeah Police Department. He was dismissed for misconduct issues, as many as 9 misconduct issues. He was almost held in contempt. I mean, his suspension record is a matter of public interest. It is also public record. Therefore, there is no accusation that is unfounded. This is all a matter of fact and public record. So, Mr. Mayor, how did we wind up hiring an individual with such a poor record of public service to where he was dismissed from the Hialeah Police Department and is now supposed to serve our community here and has not done so in a way that is ethical, moral, and it does not fulfill his obligation as an officer of the law? Do we have an answer to that as a public body that is acceptable to us? We haven't gotten that.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Powell.
I'm sorry, the third item on my 6 happened to be the decorum, which when I saw it published last week, 12 things hit me all at once. A lot of them weren't pleasant, but I thought about it. I thought maybe I'm overreacting. And had I listened or had I waited till this morning, when on my doorstep was the South Dade News Leader, and it had a beautiful front page article written by Larry Deal. Larry, thank you very much for that article. And it did explain and did show us what the decorum article was all about. And I want to thank him, and I hope there's more discussion about this as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Kevin Sullivan, 1860 Southeast 6th Court. Mr. Mayor, you look great in the Mardi Gras parade. I know you thought you were hiding behind that mask, but several young kids yelled up, "There's the mayor, there's the mayor," so you weren't completely in disguise.
I wore a shirt with my name on it.
Well, it's tough to see you that high up. I just like to piggyback on what you said at the last council meeting, how important it was for us here in Homestead to have the recognition given to one of our council people being named to the League of Cities. I think that the job that Councilman Burgess is doing for us is outstanding. He's very involved with the community. He's everything from dog rescue to children's youth sports. And as a neighbor, I think it's very nice to see him coming out of his area and giving me a wave, and I do have to thank him for all the work he's doing. And just as a sidelight to that parade, I have to thank the chief and all the officers that were there. I saw him helping people. Of course, now that I'm getting a little bit along in age, it was very comforting to see him helping a few people that had trouble getting up and down the curbs. Thank you for that, Chief.
Thank you, sir. Okay, seeing no more public comments, I'll close the public comment section at this time. We will go to additions, deletions, deferrals. Mr. Manager, Mr. Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, I'd like to request an executive session in the case Udine versus the City of Homestead. That'll be scheduled with the clerk. And with respect to item tab number 17, I'll defer to Mr. Cordino, but I believe there's a deferral of that item as well.
Yes, sir. On tab number 17, our ordinance for the City of Homestead considering the rezoning of about 1.37 acres of agricultural land on Campbell Drive. The applicant has requested a deferral. They're requesting a 90-day deferral. Our suggestion is at the end of the 90 days that they either bring the application back to the council or they withdraw the application. So we're willing to grant the deferral, but an indefinite period of time would not be appropriate in our mind.
Did you
need a motion?
Is there a second?
Mayor, just one question.
Mr. Maldonado.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the mayor, just to Mr. Cordino. You know, they're talking about they might have some legislative revisions. That's on their behalf, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a time frame or something, or have you heard and spoken to them in regards to what legislation may be coming forth?
No, sir. The applicant's here. They may be able to address that.
Can we get that? Should we just wait?
Go ahead. Mr. Maldonado's question, if you have an answer, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Jerry Proctor, attorney, address at 1450 Brickell Avenue, here on this item. Sir, excuse me, can you repeat your question?
Just wanted some more information in regards to the legislation that might be coming forward. You know, is there anything that we have in particular or that you can give us in order to start looking into this matter? In regards to legislative issues, because it says here, according to this, to one of the letters that we received, in addition, we understand that certain legislative revisions regarding zoning in proximity to the base may be forthcoming.
Commissioner, it's our understanding that the base is looking at modifications to their land use regulations. We are attempting to have conversation with base representatives about that as it affects our property near the base and the property that's the subject of this application. So it's really legislation that might be coming from the base, not anything that we're proposing directly. That's one of the factors that's involved in the application.
Vice Mayor, do you have a question? Oh, you opened your book. Okay, so there's a request to defer 17. There was a motion and a second. Did you get the second, Mr. Monala? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Back to tab 1, consent agenda. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Going to public hearings, Mr. Attorney.
First reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinance by amending Chapter 28 Utilities, Article 8 Electricity, Division 7 Net Metering Program for Customer-Owned Renewable Generation Systems at Subdivision B rates and scheduled by amending Section 28-431 Insurance to revise insurance requirements for renewable generation system customers, providing for inclusion in the code, severability, conflicts, and an effective date. This is the first reading.
Mr. Manager.
Barbara, you want to just give a brief synopsis of this one?
In the code, we currently offer customers the opportunity to install renewable generation at their residence or business. Typically, what they'll install are solar panels, and then they can use that solar panel to provide electricity for their home or business, and they can also sell excess power from the solar panel back into the system. And we've had the ordinance in place for a couple of years that allows the customers to do this. Recently, a residential customer came to us and had a concern about the insurance requirements for residential customers under this part of the code. And so we have revised the insurance requirements. Previously, we were asking these residential customers to add the city as an additional insured on the policy, and we have since this resolution would be removing that language from the code. So that's really the only change that we're looking at.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, just I know we had the discussion at the CAL and I received a follow-up email. My question at the Committee of the Whole was there's also a requirement for a $100,000 general liability policy in order for them to tie into the grid. And so my understanding was that typically in your normal homeowner's insurance policy, that is already included, that $100,000 limit. So therefore, it's really at no additional cost to the homeowner. So I just wanted to confirm that was correct, that there's no additional policy that would be required. A typical homeowner's insurance policy would cover that.
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect. That's great. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything else from council? This is a public hearing. I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone like to speak in support or opposition to this ordinance? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Is there a motion from council? Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Burgess.
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley.
Yes.
Mayor Porter.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 19.
Mexican American Council College Scholarship request.
Mr. Manager?
Mayor, this is a request we received from the Mexican American Council for Homestead student graduating high school this May. Sponsorship is for $5,000, and this would be funded through contingency should you deem it appropriate.
Any questions from council?
Mayor?
Mr. Williams?
I'm sorry, I need to hit this button.
That's okay.
That's why you.
I got you.
George, have we sponsored this before?
No.
Or is this the first time?
This is the first time.
And I don't have a problem with the item, but if we're going to do this, it will open up Pandora's box for others to come, and we will not have any way or recourse of denying or approving based on that. So just like I was conscious about waiving fees and all of that, if we do this tonight, we will have an influx of organizations, and I love the Mexican American Council, but we will have an influx, and we have no way of determining which organization will be right or wrong to support, and it just really opens us up to, not a liability. It could be a liability because they could challenge how we gave one organization something and we didn't another for a scholarship. I would just make the suggestion that if individuals through their PR, through our individual budgets could allot monies to do that, that will take the burden, that would take off the city, and also we will not have to make a decision on what organization should receive funding for scholarships. So that's my personal opinion on it. But in no way it's for motion, so no way, I think when we talk about discussion, that we need to really think about going forward with that. Or giving them another alternative, like I said, beyond the city sponsorship based on that. So that's my opinion of it.
Good comment, sir. Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. Also a huge fan of the Mexican American Council. Through the mayor to the manager, what are other cities doing in regards to this? Have you seen a best practice? Is there a fund that maybe we could help them? And we understand what the Mexican American Council is doing. They do a phenomenal job in helping the migrant community, farmer children that are here, have graduated, they have a great success rate. We know that the money that they have or they receive, it goes back to these children, and we see these children graduating and becoming great residents and citizens, not only in the U.S., but of course here in Homestead. Councilman Burgess, the gentleman, his name just slipped me, but working with you, is from Homestead and is a beneficiary of grants or scholarships like that. Try to help us help them.
Sure. First of all, Mayor, I think Councilwoman Waldman has just come online. Councilwoman, can you hear us? I just heard the chime, so I was told that she's coming online. One thing you could do if you're concerned with liability is the manager has the discretion to approve something like this administratively. So if you prefer not to do this in a formal way on this particular one, I'd be happy to just process it, and then that might help you with the challenge issue. In terms of all this with other cities and how they handle it, some cities do what you do, which is on an ad hoc basis. People kind of just rolls in and they decide on each one. Some of them handle it through a committee system. Some of them handle it through their budget process. So there's a variety of ways cities do this. And so the long-term question is whether you want to go to a more formalized system. I know we've had this conversation several times already, but on this particular one, if you're comfortable with me just handling it administratively, I'm happy to do that.
Mr. Burgess, then Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I have to agree with Councilman Williams. I believe if we are to do this tonight, the line at that podium or wherever we determine they go is going to be out the door. We see, and we're trying to set standards with our policy on just the use of the buildings. And I think that, this is a much bigger sum of money. And I think we need to really think it out. And the Mexican American Council does a great thing down here. I wish the Garzas were still here. I don't know where to maybe chime in, but they've obviously left. But I just think, like Councilman Williams brought up, the door is going to be swung wide open, and there's going to be people coming from all over the place looking for money. And when the first time we tell somebody no, it's not going to be good. So I think we really got to think long and hard and come up with some sort of policy, whether it's during budget season, we put some money in there and give people an ability to come. But then again, where do we get this money from every year to fill these spots, So we've really got to be careful about what we're doing here and as we take this step. So I'm very cautious. I would love to give money. I'd love to give everybody money, that especially scholarships, as we help the young children move forward. But we've got to be very cautious as to how and what we do, because once we open that door, it's going to be tough to close it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor.
Echo the same concerns that were raised by Councilman Williams and Councilman Burgess, and that is, we see what we're dealing with on the fee waivers and kind of where that's gone and where we are with that, still struggling. And this is a similar circumstance where there's a lot of other organizations that want to start scholarship programs for students as well, and then do we give to all or do we give to none? Do we handpick? And so I think it's something we need to think about when making this decision. I know when I talked to the Garzas, they indicated this was a kind of a one-time event. They were going to then hopefully find a self-perpetuating way of funding the scholarship, so we still have the City of Homestead's name on it, but we wouldn't be required to fund it in any form or any fashion. But as far as a public request here before the council, I think it's almost impossible to grant, given the precedents that it would set. So, and as far as administratively, I mean, I have no objection if you decide of your own accord to fund this yourself. That's fine. But I don't know that it should be voted on here in the public.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I hear you, George, and I agree with you at some point, but even for you to make that decision to do one and not the other, or how, my issue will be, how would you come of knowledge to decide if that's what we say for you to do, or give you the authority, which you do have carte blanche authority up to what, $20,000 to do? $25,000 before it has to come back to council. But I know you do it for policy piece so that it's equal across the board.
And typically, I don't do something like this with the exception of a potential emergency, or if it's been done in the past on an annual basis. But typically, you will decide on these matters.
Right. I am not comfortable with allowing you to do that, because then that places you into a predicament of deciding.
Understand.
And it wouldn't be prudent for our city manager to put you into, something of that sort. And so I would not feel comfortable even in that. And I think my alternative of it is individual sponsorship, because there are persons up here that have, just with the Mayor Youth Council just now, I mean, they could have been on the budget on the agenda to give, what would stop them from coming, saying, hey, we did it for, now we want our fund too, 5,000. So I just think that if we do this, we set precedent going forward, and I would just like to appeal to the council that, through our own budgetary process, our own budget, that we individually, if we have it, to give to the scholarship. But as a city to do it and to keep doing it, it's going to cost. And even talking with the budget, we always, every year we have a budget gap to fill, and so the hole doesn't get smaller; it gets larger through pension and through other mechanisms that we're trying to do. So all of that, and requires us to be we all have our fiduciary responsibilities as elected official, but I don't think we want to open up the door tonight for this. But I will give individually to this Mexican American College Scholarship sponsorship piece. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Fairclough?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It's $5,000 in numbers, but the opportunity that it provides to a child who can't afford to go off to school is priceless. Being a child that had to rely on these nonprofit organizations to help me get off to school, so I understand that. And I also understand the hesitation from my colleagues because it does open up Pandora's box. But I think we should find a solution as opposed to sinking the ship here to ensure that these very deserving students from our community have the means to go off to college. And each year, without fanfare, I provide $1,000 from my personal funds to kids going off to college. So I'm prepared to do that. And I would ask my colleagues to join me in coming up with funds so that we are able to provide something to the Mexican American Council to be able to send these kids off to college.
Vice Mayor? And Mr. Wood.
I concur. I mean, I'm also willing to put monies toward the scholarship from the PR account for mine as well. And the other thing I was just going to bring up is that if as a consensus we've decided that we don't want to open Pandora's box and we don't want to go down this route versus having to vote this item up and down, probably better just to defer it and then we can deal with it going forward so that we don't, just as a recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams?
Yes. And I think what I said from my colleague, Councilwoman, is that I'm right along with you as it relates to finding some type of solution to it. And so, if that means of what Councilman Shelley has suggested through his PR, through my PR, we all have limited resources as far as our own council budget, and that has not gone up, but the number of inquiries of people funding of things to do has gone up. And so the only way, we've already got a nonprofit committee that's, every year that have these funds within the CRA. But if we can just perhaps utilize, and they said this is for one time, is that one time doing? To be able to see what we can do with our PR account and to the presiding officer, does this have to be voted up or down, or could it just be? Does it have to? We would have to provide a motion to get it to discussion, right? Or
You could just, you could vote it up or down. You could defer it. It could be a motion to defer this.
defer it to time what? To time?
Just defer it indefinitely.
Just defer it.
Just defer it.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. Just for the record, I'm okay with if the city manager has discretionary funds or if however he feels like he wants to handle it. Sometimes, just like ourselves, we have organizations that come to us and seek for any type of funds and we ourselves pick and choose who we get to help. And so I believe the manager has that ability as well. So I wouldn't want to close that door, and I would definitely want to leave that into his hands.
Okay, so this is a public hearing. I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone that'd like to speak for or against this application, more than willing to speak, come to the microphone and name and address for the record, please. Turn that, there's a button on the bottom.
Hello? Oh, my name's Albert Livingston, and my address is 31501 Southwest 197th Avenue. And I would like to give $300 to the scholarship.
Nice.
So here we go.
Thank you, sir. That's what we need.
For which scholarship?
Sorry, the Mexican American Council.
Yeah, okay, yeah, thank you. That's what we...
Thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah,
Appreciate
thank you.
that very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else out there?
Seeing no
I
more
gave my
public,
money tonight.
seeing no more public comments, I'll close the public hearing. Questions or comments from council? Is there a motion at this point?
I'll make a
Hold
motion
on.
to defer.
Motion to defer, is there a second? Was there a
Second.
second? I'm sorry.
Second.
Yes, okay, there's a motion and a second. Manager?
Just had a question on the deferral. Is the deferral to not vote on the item and not provide the funds, or for me to do it administratively, or just so I can have a clearer direction on what I'm supposed to do?
Well,
If
my
you don't-
motion.
If four people don't object to me doing it administratively, then I'll do it, but for $4,700.
I thought that,
I don't know,
again,
Joe.
from my listening to the council members, we wanted to try to cobble together some monies ourselves.
Right.
And then at some point in time, when those dollars, either they will meet the requirement or they will not meet the requirement, maybe then that would be the appropriate time for you as a manager to come in and maybe fill that gap.
So you're comfortable with me filling the gap? Would be
Is
my-
anyone uncomfortable with the manager filling that gap after we do everything we can as council members?
Mayor,
Ms. Waldman?
I'm sorry. I don't know. I would never know when to say something when I'm on the phone. I had a question. Excuse me. I know that the Mexican American Council has applied for grant funding through the CRA, and I don't know if that process has even been done yet. As far as the nonprofits, have they been selected to come forward to the council for ratification? I mean, I don't know if that process has even started. However, I do know that they did apply, and I wonder if does that include the scholarships as well? I mean,
It's a different, Mayor, it's a different organ. That's for the Mariachi Academy.
It's a different question, Ms. Waldman. That 35,000 request, I think, through CRA was for the mariachi band program. So this is something different.
so that has nothing to do with scholarships at all, the $35,000 request?
No, this is college.
Well, it's a different program. How they're breaking down the spending, I'm not sure, but it's a different program.
Did you hear the manager?
Yeah, I did, and as much as I've supported, I mean, I at one time was giving a $2,000 scholarships every year out of non-city funds, but you know, I just got to the point where everybody was asking me. So I can certainly understand my sentiments of my colleagues, but I didn't hear the last part of it. I think Mr. Manager was asking if we agreed to let him make up the difference.
That was my question, Ms. Waldman. The council members had kind of were in the conversation of trying to get this money out of the council members' funds, if you want to call it. And the question the manager had was, if we can't meet that requirement of the 5,000, is there any opposition to him filling up, filling the difference? And that's when you ask.
Sorry, if I still have the floor, Mayor,
You do.
I'm not sure. You know, I love them. I mean, that's why I started Judy's Closet. That's why my doors are open to anybody who needs anything, you know, in that closet. No questions asked, free of charge. But I'm just so afraid because there's so many other organizations. I mean, I'm inundated with people asking me for things. And I've taken out of my pocket all I can. I mean, Mr. Williams, I really admire what you did tonight, but you know, it's going to be very difficult to say yes to one and no to others. And I understand where your comments, Ms. Faircloth, about trying to find a solution. I agree, but I just don't know how much more we can say no to others and yes to some. So I'll wait to hear the rest of the comments from the council. Thank you.
Any comments to the manager's question if we can't, as council, raise the funds?
Yeah.
Mr. Williams?
Every year, I know we do a golf tournament for CHI. George, do you know if that's in the budget? We've always done it. For golf, yeah, the golf tournament.
I don't know that it's in the budget per se. We can verify that, but when I first got here, what we did was anything that had been funded on an annual basis
Right.
from my office.
It would continue.
Right. So if somebody came to me for
Right.
money, I just said, did the manager's office do this last year?
Correct.
And so I respected whatever the decisions had been made.
Right.
New requests for money have been brought to you
Mm-hmm.
so that we can kind of wean off me making the decisions
Right.
and you making the decisions, because ultimately I kind of feel it is your decision. In this particular case, since you were looking to maybe avoid potential liability, I offered that up as a solution, although I'm not saying that that's particularly a good idea, just because I've tried as much as possible to wean off this myself. That being said, I'm happy to help if that helps the situation.
Yeah, yeah. I am, as I stated before, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
If we start giving, which is your prerogative because you have a limit that you can do without coming back to council for approval for just about anything, really. Is that right?
Right.
You
In
know?
other words, I could very well, when they walked in the door, said, okay, here's $5,000.
Right.
But I've kind of felt, and I've done this probably forever, is that I really feel when it comes to contributing taxpayer money to nonprofits, it's really something that's more policy than it is administrative. I think there's one thing I did recently, which is the first time I've done it, is that the Haitian group that was running a food pantry had an emergency situation, and I helped them so they could reopen their office. But that's the first time, I think, since I've been here that I actually authorized an expenditure like that, and it was $1,500 or something like that. But beyond that, anytime something comes my way, I put it on the agenda, and then you all decide. So it's really up to you. I don't say yes or no, even if I agree with it or don't agree with it,
Right, I
because I
understand.
see it more as policy than I do operations.
Right.
That being said, by charter, I have the authority to do
Right.
it. I just typically don't do it because there's certain things I feel, even though I have the right to do them,
Correct.
it's when it falls under policy, I just feel it's out of respect to you all, you should make those decisions.
No, I thank you for that and agree with you on that, and I'm very appreciative for your consciousness in that effort to make sure that we are part of it, because at times such like this, none of us are opposed to funding. We're just trying to find a different mechanism to do it without doing it from a perspective legislation kind of view or action of motions, that we can each individual, that's why I agree with the deferral, so that we can go back and see what's in our accounts to do and then come back. When is the scholarship? What date is it, that they're trying to give it out? How much time do we have?
May 27.
It's for a 2-year college scholarship through the council for a Homestead student graduating high school in May. So I would presume it would be starting in September.
So it's
May 27th is the actual event, but when they actually commit to and designate the students and what their process is, how soon they need the commitment for the money, I'm not really sure.
okay. So I agree with the deferral. Let's see, I think as a council individual that we can do within our own budget allotment, and then if there is we put this back on the agenda for next month. Can we do it at a COW meeting, or would that not be right?
Well, my understanding is,
Or does it
as
have to
long as
be
you
at
just give me a general direction, it's okay, because this doesn't require a vote from you. So
Okay.
if at the COW you decide you want me to backstop the money or
Yeah.
fill up the whatever gap you have, I believe city attorney, they can just give me direction and it'd be fine.
Okay, all right. So I'm agreeing with the deferral with that we have that explanation. Would you include that in that, us coming up with whatever we can through our...
You would like me to amend my motion?
No, I don't want, no.
Yeah, I'm
I
okay
just-
with it. I'm
it's-
okay with it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so the motion is to defer, and we've closed the public hearing. Any final comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Tab 20.
Seminole Theater renovation project.
Mr. Manager?
Mayor, staff recommends the mayor and council approve the award of bid number 201514 for the renovation of Seminole Theater to the responsive and most responsible bidder, Mania Construction Management LLC, in the amount of $4,935,000.
Are there any questions from council? Okay, this is a, Mr. Williams? Mr. Williams?
You know what, Mayor, I got to get used to this thing.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm hitting it now.
Go ahead, Mr. Williams.
George, how many bids did we have come in?
We had 3 bids.
3 bids. Which company that you're recommending?
We're recommending the second lowest bidder. The first lowest bidder, staff deemed and legal deemed to be unresponsive. And so the differential between the two is, the second one is more money. So we provided you with some options. Should you choose to throw out the bids, we could rebid and see. The issue for us was if we picked the lowest bidder, with the grant money that we're anticipating, we'd be right in the zone and we'd be fine. The issue here is if we go with the second bidder, we need to, what we're asking for in our recommendation is to go back to MCM and try to negotiate down their price. And then also we're looking at some of the soft costs so that whatever differential there is between MCM and the lowest bidder will be able to shrink
So
that.
who's the highest, MCM?
MCM is the second. So the lowest bidder was $4,585,000. That was Thornton Construction was, no, Burke is $4,585,000. MCM, which is the second lowest, is $4,980,000, and then Thornton Construction was $5,113,955.
And so you're recommending which one, MCM?
MCM, the second.
Or throw it back out and redo it? Is that what you're
Because
saying?
technically, because the lowest bidder was deemed unresponsive, then the lowest
Right,
bidder
right.
is MCM.
Follow-up question, Mr. Mayor. On most of our projects, do we do the value engineering piece is that what you consider soft costs, or how are we trying to bring?
With the city hall, if you recall, when the bids came in, we felt the bids were too high and we asked
Right.
you to throw them all out.
Right.
And then there was some resistance on some of the bidders, said, oh, they're only going to come up higher. And we all hung in there and we had them rebid and they came in about $600,000 lower. In this particular case, the issue for us is several-fold. One is there is a process which we're recommending that gives us the ability to go back to MCM, even though you'd be awarding the contract. It would be with the provision that we can go back to them and see if we can get their price down.
Am I in order, Mayor and Mr. Attorney? MCM, are they here?
Yes. Yes, they're here.
Okay. Mr., what is your name? I know you've been doing a lot of work and getting paid a lot of money. I don't even know. What's
Alexis.
Alexis? Is that your name, sir? Okay, thank you. Let me have a conversation with you.
Alexis Leal with MCM.
Okay, yes. Can I have a colloquy with you, sir? In your estimate of this Seminole Theater, as the manager has already suggested, are you willing to go back and adjust some of your costs to come under where we're trying to go?
Yes, and we've preliminarily reached out with the specialty contractors and all the contractors that bid the project to let them know what the recommendation was, so they're ready, willing, and able to go back and take a look at their numbers. I will remind you that this is a specialty project in that it is a theater, so there are certain things, unlike a regular other project where you will not get the end result of probably what you're looking for. So I say that so there's no false expectations that we can literally go across the board in a value engineering scenario, but every single subcontractor we spoke to has said yes, they're willing to go back and look at it to make certain they can give the city the absolute lowest cost for you.
Now, in that, since you mentioned that, how many of those are local businesses within Homestead? the subcontractors?
Off the top of my head, I do not recall. I know most of the specialty guys are probably not, but there are some subcontractors that we are currently using on the City Hall project that were the lowest bidder to us, probably because they're already working here locally on a project, and this project would run concurrently with the City Hall project, so that's a benefit to you all.
And the cost, as the manager has said, the timeline, well, let me ask you this, the timeline is what? How many?
7 months by the RFP.
7 months, thank you. And Mr. Man, thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Manager, you want us to give you direction to facilitate another conversation for MCM so that they will be able to bring down their costs?
What I'd like to do is get your authorization to approve the contract. It would be contingent on us negotiating. We'll also be asking for you to approve the funding. And then right now, we've designated funds within the current budget. And then if we achieve savings, then we'll replenish those funds. But what we didn't want to do is have to wait another month to come back to you. And we're hoping to meet with them very soon to move that out. We also have the issue of the grant money. The grant money we won't know for another couple of months anyway, but we just wanted you to know what your maximum exposure here is in the event that everything goes bad, which is we can't get any savings from them, we can't find savings in the soft costs, which we think we'll be able to, and we can't get the grant funding. But we're hoping that we get as much of this taken care of, but in the meantime, we didn't really want to delay the project.
Follow-up question, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Because these projects are very dear to me, especially since they're all taking place in the southwest area. My question is, are you still willing to use local labor within this process, within this project?
Of course.
Are you still, would you still committed that you would use local persons that are qualified to meet what we need?
It's part of what we do, so the answer is absolutely yes.
All right.
One thing, though,
I have your commitment on that. I don't have a problem because that's where my passion is that some persons within the homestead are able to have meaningful work, even though it's just contracting or construction work. It still provides an economic engine for us here at Homestead. So I'm glad that you are continuing that. I'm very appreciative for the work that you'll continue to do on the City Hall project. So
we're honored to serve you.
Yeah, you have my completely support with George, pending that he can drop the cost down.
Right, and then also, just so that everyone is clear, number one, if we don't feel a good faith effort has been made to reduce the price, we may very well come back to you and ask you for a recommendation to throw out the bids. And the second thing is, as far as local labor is concerned, there are in fact certain specialty items that you won't find. So there may be some things they won't be able to achieve in terms of labor.
That's why I, based on what I just said, within their experience and parameters, that make sure that we use the local labor.
Appreciate
but
it.
I think he's going to do what you ask him to do, George.
I hope
He
so.
just said it on the mic.
I'm hoping that they'll consider this a lost leader since they're doing so much more work for the city and since it's going to help so many people.
Thank you.
Right? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Burgess.
Thank you. To the manager or to staff, in our package, we had a letter from the bidder that was the lowest bidder, trying to explain some things. Can you tell me your thoughts on the letter, and did they clear anything up to make them relevant points to put them back into the game or not? I think we need to put that out in the public just for the public to understand why we're going with somebody that was a little bit more money, and we deemed unresponsive, so they can understand that.
We had a meeting with them to address their concerns. Jerry, did you want to take that?
Yes, through the manager, Mr. Burgess. We met last Friday with the owners of Burke Construction. Like you stated, we had sent them a letter deeming them as unresponsive. We had several issues with their submittal. First of all, it was an incomplete submittal. As part of our process, we send down addendums that have to be responded to in terms of the solicitation, detailing specifics or changes to the plans. In this case, they responded to none. In addition to
They
that.
didn't respond to the...
To the
okay.
addendums, no, sir. To none of the addendums by the time that the bids were submitted. Secondly, they had to respond with 3 written references from projects they had done. Once again, those were not included in their bid packet. Thirdly, staff started doing their references or checking their projects, and the first one they had listed was the South Dade Cultural Arts Center. When we started checking that project was done by Tower Construction, not Burke Construction. Turns out that Tower Construction got bought out by OHL, which is a Spanish company, which was used to actually finish the project. With that being said, we called for references anyways, even though none were provided. And after getting the references, they were really not good. I don't want to say too much. Liquidated damages, behind schedule up to 400 days, subs not being paid, things of that nature. So that coupled with an incomplete packet, plus listing projects under a different company name, we sat with the attorneys, we sat with the management staff, and it was determined that it was best to deem them as unresponsible.
Follow-up question. So then the number that's represented under them, this 4.85, that may not be an accurate number because it doesn't have the changes in it?
The addendums were not included
in that
in their
numbers that we see
submittal
before
at the
us
time they
tonight.
submitted the bid, correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Vice Mayor?
Just a quick clarification, the 2 numbers, there are 2 different numbers in the memo. I assume it's the low number that we're going with, but I just want to verify. You see that the 4980 is listed in the first portion of the bid, and then the actual item, the rest of the time it's referred to as the 4935.
I can answer that if you like. Through the manager, the first number was MCM's initial bid amount.
Okay.
We subsequently asked them for their best and final offer, and that's where the second number comes from.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, this is a public hearing on tab 20. I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone would like to speak for or against, you're welcome to come to the microphone. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final comments? Is there Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. Please bear with me, my sinuses are starting to kick in. Through the mayor to the manager, this money that we're talking about is the complete build-out finished product of the Seminole Theater?
Yes. Now,
Okay.
with a couple of caveats. The bids went out with some alternatives, just in case we weren't sure if we have any funding problems, what would we have to, we wanted to have enough flexibility to start pulling items out of the project. And the items, what we call the deduct alternatives, are listed in your Exhibit 2, and they're things like the flywheel behind the stage, which gives you the ability to move things up and down and sideways. And so that was one thing that we were thinking, well, if we have to live without, we could live without. There was also some, delete the last row of seats in the balcony, delete the counterweight rigging line sets, delete the hardwired stage lighting control systems. Basically, those are the dimmers. So it gives you the ability to have more flexibility with some of the performances. So we wanted to have that flexibility. The renderings that we sent you out are primarily what you'll see there. It's the number of seats, it's the staging, it's the widening of the proscenium. The flooring will be basically terrazzo in the main lobby. It'll be carpeting up the staircase. It'll be carpeting through the theater and on the second floor. And it's really bare bones. There's nothing really fancy about it. It's just enough to get the doors open and to have it a functional theater. There was no marble and nothing really fancy, just kind of to get the thing open. It was a struggle to keep it within budget because everybody's appetites tend to be more than what they can afford, but this is pretty much this. Obviously, we're hoping for no change orders because that could further complicate matters, but so far, this is our best guess on what this thing is going to cost. And yes, it will give you a functional theater. Oh, that was the other thing, is one of the deduct alternatives was the classrooms.
Right.
And we thought the classrooms should stay as well.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Manager, a couple questions. These items that kind of have been left off, they're not precluded from being added on, I mean, rather easily at a later date.
Well, for the items that are on the deduct alternatives, they're in. Okay, so, but if we don't find any savings from MCM and we don't if we don't find any savings in the soft costs and we lose the grant money, we may come back to you and say, hey, look, we may need to have you decide on whether you want to reduce some of these things. There were some other ideas that internally were, well, maybe we don't need bathrooms on the second floor, but that was something operationally we felt was going to be not good. There was another idea of having the outdoor patio closed in and more functional than it is now. That was too costly of an item, so that we left out there. So for the most part, what you see in those renderings is what you get, which is the functional theater. And then anything additionally, if you wanted fancy artwork inside, if you wanted something else, closing off the patio, more electronics in the classrooms, those kind of things you certainly could add later on through fundraising. But in terms of this being a functional theater, that's what this will get you.
Right, well, that's where I was going. The intent was to get this theater open, and the intent was also to additionally continue fundraising to try to improve and add programs and add amenities as we can as fundraising comes along. So
yes,
there are opportunities. Mr. Williams?
Yeah, my issue is with this, George, is that I thought when we went out for this bond referendum that all these what we're talking about now, that it was included. Is that not right? We said that when we went out and said, how much will it cost us to get the Seminole Theater open? Was it just bare bones and just to get the door open? And then my next follow-up is, what is the additional, with all of the stuff that you have just said, will it cost us another $1 million, another 500? Because if we're saying that the $5 million to get it open, and now we're looking at trying to cut back. I keep hearing you say grant. How much was the bond referendum for? How much was it?
The bond referendum was for $5 million.
$5 million.
Yes.
So 500 of that went to the engineers or the planning.
Yeah. There's right now the budgeted amount for the soft costs, budgeted that is not spent, is roughly $800,000, which gives us about $4.1 million. And so the issue was when we did our estimates before the bond, it was bare bones. As we've developed this program, two things have come forward. One is the proscenium, which is your framing on the stage, is very narrow. We felt the theater would have more functionality if we push back a little bit. And also the lobby was really small. And so the idea was to push that out and break down the walls and make the lobby more expansive. So since we felt we were ranked for and qualified for this funding of $550,000 from the state, we are told that the only thing standing in our way of that money is the state replenishing that fund. So unless something unusual happens, we're ranked, and as long as they have the funding, that money should be ours. And in terms of the deduct alternatives that I mentioned in the packet, these are items that we said if the bids come in really, really high and we have to cut, we wanted the construction companies to know these items we want itemized so that we may decide to pull some of these items off. So for example, you still have a functional theater without a flywheel system in the backstage. However, it'd be nicer if we had it. And so with the grant monies, And with some of the reductions, we feel,
Right, but that's what I'm asking. What is the total, what will be the cost to have all of that, what you just said, the flywheel and everything, so that when it opens they're ready, not adding anything?
our goal is to have this at $5,550,000.
Okay, so another $1 million.
No, it's for the total package with the soft costs.
So an additional 500,000.
With the grant money, correct. So.
Okay, but then if you're saying the only thing would be that the state said they're going to have a surplus, so.
No, you won't, because what you have right now is right now, if you factor in no reduction.
Right.
And from MCM, no deduct alternatives, which is the list in your packet.
Right.
No grant monies, and you go as is, then you're talking about almost $900,000.
That's what I said, $1 million. But you're saying, right, but I understand.
What I'm saying is, what the goal here is to ratchet this thing down through savings from the contractor, savings from the soft costs, and then our hope would be then with the grant monies, we'll be at $5,550,000 all in.
Okay, I'm done, because I got to go home and see Empire tonight. And you...
He wants to see Empire. So the grant money really, if you either get it or you don't get it, and if you get it, you're within budget.
Okay, all right. Move it, may I move the item?
It's moved. Is there a second? Ms. Waldman?
I'm sorry, I missed my button that I can't push.
Number one show.
I just wanted to say that I'm very happy with MCM. To me, they've done an admirable job on the city hall. I was excited about the police station, and they know us. They know how we work. I think we make a really good team. They've been very honest with us. Their work is superior. Their reputation is superior. So I fully endorse them. I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So there was a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any final comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess? Yes. Councilwoman Fairclough?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 21.
And this is the companion budget amendment from the general fund.
Questions from council? This is a public hearing public hearing for the tab 21.
Yeah, where's the money coming from? I see contingency.
The funds are
and
listed.
then I see
Carlos, do you
various-
want to speak to that?
It's two components. 626,000 of it is coming from some projected savings from health insurance premium monies, and then the balance would be coming from contingency.
And so the idea is, assuming we get the soft costs down, and assuming that we get the contractor to reduce their price, and also we get the grant monies, all those monies go back into these funds and replenish.
Go back into these various departments and
Exactly.
contingency.
These
based
exactly.
on the formula in which you're saying all of that works out perfect. In a perfect world.
In a perfect world, not only that, but Councilman Shelley, Vice Mayor Shelley will do a poetry reading on opening night.
All right. I moved the item, man.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. It's properly moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 22 is in presentation by Fisher Auction Company.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members, all of our city attorney. Mr. Grettis, great to see you, our city attorney and city manager, and also our city clerk. My name is Lamar Fisher. I am President and CEO of Fisher Auction Company, located at 2112 East Atlantic Boulevard in the great city of Pompano Beach, Florida. I'm here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, to provide you with an overview of how the accelerated marketing process works. The several municipalities and the court system and states and counties utilize the auction process to sell their surplus assets. And the reason why they do that is because it creates a truly an arm's length transaction, total transparency, and as is where is transaction, no contingencies, and allows the public and the qualified bidders to compete, first day in the sunshine. So everybody competes under the same terms and conditions of this transaction. I bring it to your attention because I know that you have been struggling with some of your assets, including maybe the bowling alley. So just kind of want to walk you through, if I may.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Williams?
I need to get clarification on something.
Yes, sir, Councilman.
Because I heard you mention it. You said, now,
This is just a presentation.
okay, Mayor, may I ask you, what is the end result? What problems are we having, Jerry, with our surplus items in which he has making his what he said, making his presentation on? Are we having problems with the integrity processing by which we are getting rid of our surplus items?
Through the manager, I'm not aware of any issues we're having.
So,
I'm going to make clarification, council member. We're talking about actually real estate assets. I apologize, and not personal property assets. I want to talk to you about your real estate assets.
talk about the real estate piece.
Correct. And provided in your presentation book, there has been provided several cities and municipalities who have used the process. For example, the Miami Arena. The city of Miami was charged with selling that asset on behalf of the taxpayers. They had negotiated a contract with the surrounding property owner for approximately $25 million. In doing so, they reviewed their charter, and their charter said, wow, we got to go back out to a competitive bidding process. So we were hired, but they thought in their minds that they had negotiated the ultimate price with the surrounding property owner, Mr. Sofer, at that time. So when we were engaged, we marketed the property at a time certain auction event. We were able to bring additional buyers and broker bidders in, and we were able to raise additional $3 million for the city of Miami Beach through the auction process.
Mayor, may I have a follow-up question?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Because you're here because of the bowling alley sale?
I'm here as a general to tell you about the auction process, how it works for real estate. Is that correct, Mayor?
Well, Mr. Williams, if I can,
I'm trying to just figure out where he comes from. It's just all of a sudden I'm trying to understand it in parameters of how you get here tonight. That's I'm trying to figure out where this fits. Okay. So if I can just have a frame of reference of beyond the things that you're not saying, what are you really saying? You're saying that you're here to handle our real estate transactions of all of the properties in which we have here in Homestead that's owned by the city?
Mr. Williams, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I had asked Mr. Lamar or Fisher Auctions to come down and present as what would be other options. We've had RFPs and RFQs that go out, and it goes to a smaller area of municipal interest. This was just to, as we move forward, this could be another tool in the bag that we look at. It has nothing to do with any specific issue, specific property. It's just that we've struggled council-wise with getting some of what we appear to be the highest and best numbers on our property in the past. This is something I don't think that, Mr. Manager, interject if I'm wrong, this is something I don't think we've used as a tool for surplus anything, correct?
No, to my knowledge, most of this has been handled in-house over the decades that there have been transactions with property.
So in essence, Mr. Williams, this is just an informational piece.
Okay.
He's not here to solicit. It's just this kind of company, this particular company was referred to me by a former employee from the city that moved to North Miami Beach, and they've had some successes with auctioning off some of their surplus property. So it's just for informational piece as we go forward.
Okay, no, man, I respect the vision in which you're trying to take with this. I'm just, was unclear because, sometimes when we're in a process of doing something, all of a sudden there's a lot of spark of interest that is facilitated because of conversation of present things that's going on. That's why I asked Jerry, did we have any problems before ever, getting rid of, other properties, or is our team that we have within the procurement process or negotiating that deals with some of this kind of stuff, we ever had any snags along your tenure?
No, sir. Right now, everything's been working fine. In fact, we've been able to auction off almost all of our surplus items, and we've never had an issue with Renee Bates.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mayor, so much for that.
Yes, sir.
I just want
Jerry,
to be clear.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The surplus property you're referring to are like vehicles and computers. That's the surplus property, right?
Correct, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Mr. Lamar, go ahead.
Sure. So again, the goal tonight is to provide, as the mayor said, another tool in your toolbox as an opportunity maybe to use a different methodology when you're dealing with your real estate assets. And I'm here tonight just to kind of quickly go over the background. I want to get you back to see the Empire if you can.
Thank you.
As soon as you can.
It's a 2-hour finale tonight.
I understand that.
I got to get there.
Again, the strategy behind it is to create a market, to market a property basically to the local, regional, and national level, and to provide the opportunity for bidders to come in and pre-qualify and actually compete against each other under the same terms of the transaction. The transaction, again, is as is, where is. There are no contingencies involved, so there's not a contingent upon one getting financing or one getting site plan approval. The due diligence package is built for that particular property that we're selling. It's available 60 days in advance of the sale. And so when the bidders come, they bring a 10% deposit with them and cash or cashier's check. That becomes their 10% deposit, and they close the transaction within 30 days. Again, the beauty of it is the fact that it becomes truly arm's length and total transparency. So there's no, being a government myself, there's no illusion or perception that one is being favored, as everybody can play against the same playing rules, the same terms and conditions, which is outlined well in advance of the auction itself. Again, the key component is marketing the property to the right buyers, getting them engaged, getting them to do their due diligence, and that's a myriad of opportunities, whether it be through print medias, electronic platforms, signage on the property, telemarketing, database of buyers that one may have had. The key question always I'm asked is, do I have to sell the property to the highest bidder? Am I having any protection? And you do, especially when you're dealing with government. What we like to offer is what we call the property subject to confirmation, which simply means that we obtain the high bid and offer, whatever it may be, and then it's presented to you as a council, and you have the right to say yes, you have the right to say no. So again, you have that full window of opportunity to protect yourself and line yourself with that option. And that's what we call the auction methodology of a subject to confirmation sale. Again, the transaction, again, the purchase and sale agreement is very simple. It's as is, where is, no contingencies. We have opportunity for people to make their inspections on the property. We welcome them to do that. And again, providing all the zoning, all the issues that the property may have, wherever we're dealing with, that will be in what we call our property information package. The really one interesting thing too is the fee structure is such that on a general basis is that the commissions, the real estate commissions, are paid by the buyer, not the sell side, meaning not the city of Homestead. It's paid on the buyer side. And included in that, of course, is the opportunity to cooperate with brokers. We are brokers as well. We want to make all the brokers community feel welcome to bring buyers too, and they will get compensated for. So you have everybody working for you and nobody against you at the end of the day. And again, there is a finite marketing cost that is capsulated that the municipality usually pays for. That is a line item for them, showing them again where the print media is, electronic platforms, you name it, is outlined for them for their approval. And again, you're provided weekly progress reports as you move along this process, showing where the action's coming from, where the buyers are coming from, and that's kind of it in a nutshell. I will entertain any questions anybody might have.
Any questions from the council? Did you have a question? Mr. Williams, do you have a question?
Yes. Now, your fee you're saying is paid by the buyer, right?
Yes, sir.
So what upfront costs would the city has, you said, from marketing and from other, what's the estimate cost of such? I'm pretty sure you've surveyed Homestead and all of our properties in which we own that would make potentially be on to sell. What do you estimate the cost from the city's side with the marketing and any other costs that we may not know about?
I'm not trying to avoid the question, but I want to answer as follows. It depends on the property itself, where it needs to be marketed, whether it can be a local, regional market, whether it needs to be a national market, international market, whatever it may be. I can't really give you a rule of thumb other than maybe sometimes I give a 0.5% or a 1% of, quote, property value as a general rule of thumb, where the finite marketing cost would be. And what we do, too, is from the buyer's commission dollars, we actually give back a percentage to the municipality to reimburse those costs. So it's an advancement agreed upon, and then when the transaction closes, it's almost a reimbursement back to you. So at the end of the day, buyer would have paid all the real estate commissions, and the advancement of the marketing dollars would have been returned to you.
Mayor, question.
Yes, sir.
Jerry, to the manager. We ever sold any other properties, land, real estate?
Other than while I've been director, other than the Dade Medical properties, those were the only ones that I've heard of being sold.
And
or were in the process of trying to sell.
And that was being negotiated through what process?
I think it was being negotiated directly through the manager's office, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I missed the question because I just heard an answer, which was it's only one property that we've tried to sell, and I just wanted to make sure that was the question, because I know the CRA...
No, what I asked Jerry, that have we sold any other properties, land, real estate within the course of life of the city, since he's been here, who's handled those negotiations?
Well, the word sold is an interesting word because the sports complex was a deal in which
it was a
was a lease purchase.
Purchase by, right.
They actually had the right to purchase it. In fact, it required them to buy it after that 7-year period.
Right.
So that, I guess, would be one. The answer to that would be yes, that's another one that we sold. But we took back because they violated the terms. And then.
But normally, your office has handled such.
Yeah, I think as far back as anybody can remember, the city has handled these purchases. These sales.
Follow-up question. Your personal opinion, not personal, professional opinion, as relates to a process like this, where do you stand, Mr. Manager?
Well, I stand that I haven't changed much from the last time we've had this conversation, which is because we're so swamped with all the other things we're doing, if you all decide you want to do a process, I would prefer either not doing a process and not doing anything for a while until we clean up our plate.
But I'm saying about this item. Forget I'm talking about this item as what we're talking about. How your professional opinion? How do you feel coming from your background, Fort Lauderdale, White Plains? What has been your professional opinion in dealing with auction companies, or have you had the abilities or know how to deal with them?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
In your professional opinion, have you had the opportunity to deal with auction companies in real estate holdings and before within your profession?
In selling city property?
Yes, in dealing with auction companies. Have you had any type of...
No.
So you have no grasp of such how it works as it relates to auction companies for government and real estate?
Well, I have not met with this firm, and so I would have to better understand. I'd prefer to sit down and meet with them if that's the direction that you go. Okay. We haven't utilized a process like this in previous cities that I've worked with. Right. That doesn't mean it's a bad process. It's just that I have not
used a process like this before, is what I'm asking. Okay, that's what I'm asking. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Maldonado.
Thank you. Yeah, kind of along the same lines of what Mr. William was just brought up. My question to the city manager. I know that when I last spoke on where we stood when we were talking about the bowling alley, and in our last discussion, you did ask to give us time because everything that's on your plate, I know that. My question would be, would this be one of the tools you might use in regards to figuring out what we're going to do with the properties that we do have?
It certainly could be if I had an opportunity to meet with this group and did more research on if we were going to, in essence, go out of the city in order to market some of our properties, what would be some of our better options, then this could well be something. I would say that while we have the projects that we have on our plate, my preference would be if you're committed to marketing this property, then I would say I would need some outside help to do that. If, in fact, you want to sell it to this individual tonight, then that's just a function of papering the deal, and then we're done. So that won't require any staff time. But if you say, look, we know you're busy, George, but we absolutely want to market this property and we want something back in 90 days, then I would suggest we do something from the private sector to do the marketing.
Thank you.
Well, again, just to kind of follow up on the discussion, listening to comments in previous meetings about the overload that staff's under, we do have other assets that we're going to have to deal with, which is the US 1 8th Street property at some point in time. This is just a process to put some other tool on the table for consideration as we move forward if we're going to continue to need to sell or have the desire to sell assets. This is only one company. Doesn't mean that there's only one company, with all due respect. But this, I had information from this company given to me by a former employee, Brian O'Connor, who used to work in our procurement department, who now works in procurement in, I think, North Miami Beach. And this is a tool that he uses in their disposition of their surplus materials. And so obviously he had a high favorable rate of your company personally. So my intent is not to muddy the water. My intent is to provide options for us as a council as we go forward with really, really tough decisions. And, the manager was very clear that, he's concerned with staff overload. This takes it out of, it takes it out of the staff's day-to-day operation and puts it in private sector, but we never lose control of anything because it always comes back to us. So there is no recommendation to hire Fisher Auction. The request was for Fisher Auction to come down and give us a basic overview of the tools that are available and a little bit of statistical information on the successes that they have had through their processes and some of the other municipalities that have used them as a tool. So we don't necessarily have to do anything. We just wanted to have a discussion and have a conversation. So did you want to say something, Mr. Manager?
Yeah, and I had sent you an email. Weiss Road had been contacted by another firm, and when we called to see did they have any specific offers, they had said no, but they were interested in helping market the property too. So my guess is there's other firms that would have interest in the same thing. That being said, I think it's a philosophical question of whether you're in a rush to sell, and if you're in a rush to sell, what next?
Okay. So if there's no more questions, Mr. Fisher, I appreciate you taking the time to come down. And
I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the mayor. First, and thank you for coming out today and I guess letting us know and helping us and what you know because of your experiences is going through cities throughout the U.S. and where we need help to make sure that we get these properties out and any surplus that the city owes in the best and most effective way. So just my hat's off to you. Thank you for coming out. I look forward to speaking with you. On the same token, the same note, I'm glad that this came before us. I want to thank the mayor for taking that initiative. And it's something that's going out. I just came from D.C., Washington, D.C., and this is kind of a best practice. There's a lot of things happening now in the U.S., throughout the U.S. and throughout the world, and there's organizations that are there to help us, the municipalities, small cities, to be more effective in all the jobs we're doing. They know that we need help, and the government's the biggest employee, and we own a lot of property, have a lot of items before us. So again, I think it's a good effort, and I'm seeing many more of these organizations and companies coming before us to help us in what we're trying to accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams?
Mayor, point of personal privilege, if you don't
Yes, sir.
mind.
Yes, sir.
I know we've had a lot of discussion tonight, and let me thank you for your process by bringing this company forward, your extraordinary leadership. But after we have the talks with the opponent, I will not be able to go to my business. But I want you to know, as mayor, I support you, even though we had a lot of comments today on your character, whatever, what you're trying to do. But the point of personal privilege, I want to say you have conducted yourself in the most suitable way in which you've handled your meetings. And so I know sometimes we have different thought processes, and you respect that. But as the mayor who has gone and allowed us all opportunities to say our mind, I want to tell you as the mayor, keep doing what you're doing. This is a council that has been working together since your arrival, and don't get weary. Stay the course, and you have my full support. And then also to the manager, I know that some of the staff has been attacked, and you too, Mr. Manager, have done an exceptional job, and all the staff, and you all ought to be commended. And I know it's tough every day. And so I want to tell you all on personal privilege that you all keep your heads up, and you all have my full support in what you all are doing. So thank you, Mayor, for that.
I want to thank you, Mr. Williams, and the success of this council comes when you guys get up every morning and look at yourselves in the mirror, because it is the team effort, and I appreciate the kind words, and sometimes we can't make everybody happy, but we've always got to step forward. So thank you very much. So no more on tab 22. So tab 23. Mr. Williams, you want to take that?
Yes, Mayor, we're back at the table.
Back at the table.
For the last and final time, I hope, dealing with this bowling alley issue. Let me invite Mr. J up. Today I was able to meet Mr. Damon Lester, who is the is the chairman of the minority dealerships in America. He was with us, but he had to leave. And in my discussion with him, unbeknownst to Mr. J, that he is willing to help facilitate some more time with the franchisor. So hopefully that will help with all the other issues that we may have outstanding. But as I said last week, that I think that the bowling alley, with all of our good intentions, we tried to make it work, tried to make it viable. We've offered subsidies, and as we are continue to make over the face of Homestead, and the pastor tonight said some very good, exciting words. He said that we were bridging the gap from the south, from the east to the west, coming together as one. And I think with this project, this eyesore, this potential, this bowling alley has been so contentious that I think it is prudent for us at this market value, which is a great offer, to move the process forward, to negotiate with the sale of this bowling alley, so we can get rid of this eyesore of a place that we have providing subsidies over the years, paying the lights. Every time somebody break in, we got to board it up. I mean, we've just spent such absorbent amount trying to keep this place in shape. And the reality of it is that even through the market study of through Bird Bowl, and they took the time to go through it, and they were professional persons in bowling, could not do anything with the project, was not profitable. And so instead of continuing to go around and round in a circle, we really never had an offer such as this. I've seen the renderings of the potential site of this dealership that is going to provide jobs for locals. I'm very impressed with that hiring locals within Homestead, especially within my district, my area, all of Homestead, to be able to provide another source of economy so that those persons who also live here, work here, will spend their money here, and so the dollar will circulate at least 20 times before it leaves out of Homestead through providing of restaurants, other stores. So this is really a step forward for us to do. Let's get rid of this site. We're not, as you can see, we're not very good landlords. Anything that we have done, and so I think this is the opportunity for us to really move forward in Homestead as relates to selling this site and to put some of the monies back in the coffers that we have already expended out that we probably would never recoup again. So I hardly support this item and hope my colleagues will move forward to discussion of selling the bowling alley. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Williams. Any comments from council members? Mr. Maldonado, you were absent.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I was away in Washington during this last meeting and lost opportunity to speak on this item, and I'm glad that I have a chance to speak on it, whether it went up or whether it went down, and if there was any votes in this issue. You know, I'm by that area constantly. You know, my office is down the street from there, right off of East Maury Drive, and it's a shame that when I go over there and I look at that building and I say, well, what does anyone else think when they're driving through there? And I pass by it all the time because if I have to go down to in the Florida City area, or as again, my office is across the street. It's an eyesore. I was a big supporter of it being a bowling alley and for my community. Like I said, in the past, I had my ear torn off by some of the residents and saying, you know, we wanted you to support this as a bowling alley, and I did. And I stuck to my guns. I said, I am going to support it. And but we see that the final decision was made, and we understand that it's not going to become a bowling alley. And I think the residents now see and understand that. So I would like to see something happen in there as soon as possible. Again, I brought this up to the city managers recently and asked, what can we do to help out in the process? And so, you know, you guys are busy, and I get it, I understand it. But nonetheless, I believe that the city needs to move forward in any way matter that we could help our residents and the community and the businesses in this area. I'm in support of something happening there, and this soon. I know that we're bogged out, but I don't want to miss opportunity of just letting things just kind of sit there, and we'll get to it. And in government, unfortunately, that happens a lot. So again, I'm glad that this is before us, and I'm actually supportive of what's happening here today. Thank you. I'll hold the rest of my comments for later.
Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. I had the opportunity to sit down with the gentleman last week for a lengthy discussion. And I got to tell you, I was quite impressed with his story of where he came from and where he is today. It's a very impressive story, and I want to tell you, you've done a marvelous job. And I think, you know, I think he's got great intentions, and he kind of sold me on bringing it down here. And but the only problem I see tonight on the paperwork that we have in front of us is that the city's still left holding the bag for about $300,000. His offer is 2.1, and if we go back to February 28th, I guess, and we probably would even have to update that figure to something. You know, I certainly can't. If we're going to sell it, we at least have to be made whole as to where we are. I certainly am not going to give it away under what the cost is to the city. So if, I mean, if that's something that's, so I guess my thoughts are that it would have to go back to the manager for some discussion or negotiation, whatever you want to consider it, call it, and see where that gets us, and see if we can get the city whole and get things moving. So, you know, like I said, I had a lengthy discussion with him. I believe in his product. He's made a commitment to me that he's going to be part of the community, and that's the type of stuff I'm looking for down here, is people that want to give to the community too. And so that's where I'm at tonight.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams.
Mayor, thank you so much. And Mr. Burgess, let me thank you for taking the time out to meet with Mr. J. And at first, I didn't even look at it, you know, because I didn't think it, you know, warranted. But after meeting him and sitting down with him, I too was sold on what his ideas are. And so when I did more investigation, I mean, he has the full support of certain entities that will help with that. And I raised the question to Mr. J about the price. Said the question that you probably will get hit with is, can you go up a little bit more? I've already, and he can, you know, attest that I've asked him that question, and I'm hoping that that something can be met. You know, if we move, that asking that the council will move it forward to negotiations on a price. And when you say made whole, John, what figure are you meaning? The market value, or are you meaning what we sold or leaned the property for? Because it was like $2 million
right
at that time.
But now the interest is
with interest. So with interest, what would that be?
Like almost 2.4 probably at the end of March.
2,000,003. Do we know, Miss? I'm sorry.
It's actually on the agenda with interest through February 28th.
It's 2.38 or something.
2.306. Yes.
2.306400, right?
Yes.
That will make the city whole.
Correct.
And
but we've also got to make sure through the attorney that that
those other
any
contingencies
issues that come up through HUD,
right,
that we're covered there, and that he's fine with any of the responsibilities there. Because I don't want in a year,
right, I understand,
HUD writes that letter, hey, City of Homestead,
right,
where's the check?
Right.
Yeah, I think that the direction here, because we went through the contract just to understand what it was, but we have not gone through the contract carefully. I think if there's a direction from council to move ahead with this gentleman, I think that's what the direction should be, which is to have the staff sit down, negotiate with him, and, you know, and if staff is comfortable, or bring a contract to the council that has all the protections for the city and the best price that we can get, if that's what the majority of the council wants to do.
Mayor?
Hold on just one second. Mr. Williams, you still have...
I'm sorry. No, I released it. I'm sorry. I released the floor. Thank you.
Since Ms. Wallman can't punch a key, does anybody mind?
I'll give her.
Ms. Wallman, go right ahead.
I'm really sorry. I'm trying to be very patient and not interrupt anybody, but I'm blind here. So all I wanted to say was that I too was very impressed. I've checked him out. I've done some research. I think he's very honorable. I know that he can do the project. But, you know, I mean, you think back over the years how long that we have had this property when it could have been on the books. So, you know, we talk about making the city whole, but think about all the years that we lost, where we lost the ad valorem, we lost the revenue, we lost the power, the utility plant revenue, the water and sewer revenue. I actually went back just because I was just curious to all the negotiations and all the talks that we had from way back. You know, when we were trying to sell it, we listened, we made deals, we had deals fall through. So, you know, and nobody fought harder than I did, you know, for a bowling alley, as well as many of you. But it's just not going to happen. I mean, we've had the best of the best come before us, and all those offers were all about the same. They were all just about the same. And so I look back at what we've lost. I mean, if the gentleman wants to come up in price, I say go for it. But I'm just saying, look at all the money we've lost. Look at all the time we've lost. And he does not want that property unless he can have that dealership, that particular dealership, on that piece of property, which I believe is the Hyundai dealership. And he has a timeline. So we have a choice here. It's very simple. And I'm in favor of it. So, Mayor, I'll relinquish my time, and hopefully I won't interrupt anybody else. I'm sorry.
No, you're not interrupting. I just didn't know if you were still there. My apologies. Ms. Faircloth, then Mr. Maldonado.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I had an opportunity to meet with Mr. J after our last meeting, and I also had an opportunity to discuss with him late last night about this proposal, because I wanted to invest the time to completely understand what this means and be very deliberate about the decision that I make, because it's just that important to me. I also recognize that this particular property has a dark cloud hovering over it. And with all the building and the successes that we are accomplishing in the community, it's time for us to kind of turn the page and move forward and continue to win games in this community. But in that same breath, I feel as if the decision that we make, it has to be a decision that holds the city harmless. And we have to make sure that we are not adversely impacted by any decision that HUD will make. In addition to that, Mr. J, I feel like you're being a little bit rigid with us. You're kind of boxing us in a corner as far as the price. And if the price that you're holding hard to, if that causes the city to have to lose some dollars, then I think that is a bit risky for us. So if you're amenable to being a little bit more flexible when it comes to the price to ensure that we're not left, as my colleague said, holding the bag, it would be something that I would consider. So I want you to speak to that for 1 second. And I also want you to speak to, if this is approved and you're coming to the city to sell cars, how are you going to go beyond selling cars in our city to serving our city? If you can respond to that, I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you, council, all council members, and a mayor and a vice mayor and the city manager. I mean, you got a tough job there, sir. We met the other day. I met just about each one of you guys personally, face to face, over the phone. It's my third round, and just about every council member asked me the same question: are you flexible? Well, the answer is absolutely I'm flexible, but I don't know what's on the table by saying flexible. I mean, if you're saying I'm going to sell it and let's negotiate the number, okay, let's do it. Then I can make my business decision, my calculated decision based on the expense I'm going to incur on property that I got to get ready for the asphalt. I mean, I can go on what I needed to get the property done to make a world-class operation building with a manufacturer going to stand out. Probably it's going to be one of the best looking piece of architect building you're going to have for many years. The second question you had was, how am I going to serve the community? Is that what it was with the car dealership? And I made it very clear to all of you guys, most of you guys, that you're not going to see my current dealership, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and my Alfa Romeo and Fiat store, which is really 15 minutes away from this location. Same on US 1. But you're not going to see me on TV ads, a lot of radio ads. I do a lot with what I call it as an in-house community involvement, referrals and repeats. Because at the end of the day, there's enough people are driving, whether it's in South Miami or Homestead. We don't have that transportation like a luxury like in New York or Chicago, where you got a lot of public transportation. So they need cars. So when you are any one of us, whether it's me or any other new car dealer, we have that plan where when we sell a car, but we're looking for people to come back doing the business for service and parts and what have you. And from that point, the employee who's working at the dealership, they're going to go out to the community how proud they are and how satisfied they are that they're being with our team. And their parents and their family friends going to buy a car or get a car repaired. So we're also going to have a lot of community involvement, and I'm involved currently with having a lot of event for the small business people and local community to show up to my store. Well, currently I'm doing it quarterly, sometimes biannually. All the small business owner will meet in my dealership, share business cards, and because they buy each other all the product we buy. So there's a lot of stuff that I can get involved with the community. Probably more than 50 to 70% of my business, whether it's a sale, parts, or service, is done through the community involvement, repeat, referrals, and my employee team involvement. So that's, I mean, a short time, because I know you guys been here for a long time, and when this comes up, there's a lot of time spent. I'm sure you guys are kind of worn out by yourself. Before I even got here about the property, I read all the articles. Then I come in my third time. So in a short note, that's what I can tell you at this moment. If you like my proposal in writing, what the community's involvement is going to be, I'll be more than happy to submit one to you guys. Thank you.
Ms. Fairclough, you still have the floor. Finished. Mr. Maldonado, then Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams?
Yeah. Jay, I think what my colleague was trying to ask you is, how will you be involved in the community beyond the dealership aspect? I think, if I'm not, beyond just parts and service and selling the car, I think what she was asking is, how are you going to be an integral part in the development of our community? How are you going to be engaged with our residents, whether that is through training programs, education, whatever? I think that's what she was asking. How are you personally going to be engaged within our community to become a part of Homestead beyond just a business venture? I think.
And thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, is that not what I heard, Ms. Councilwoman? Okay, yeah, I think that's what she was trying to get you to articulate.
Beyond what I said about community involvement, obviously, at the end of the day, we are going to be hiring, most of the employees are out of a Homestead district, and where they'll be trained with a new way to do business nowadays. Automobiles are not, today is not like the old automobile. So we're going to be recruiting a lot of people out of school. We have a program called how to finance cars, how to earn credit cards or get credit card and keep up a good credit score. And we have several banks will come into the dealership and we'll reach out to the school for the young student or people who's got some trying to earn or get a better credit rating. And we have a seminar and class right at the dealership. And I believe Vice Mayor mentioned about you're going to be spending a lot of time and money to build Homestead downtown, which I think is a great idea. And I would like to be part of it as a business owner, as a community involvement.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. Just for the record, I just want to put out for the record that I'm in favor for this, and like everything else that this team tackles, I have complete faith in the process. We're going to expect, if this moves forward, for the city manager to try to work out the best deal for the city in the same manner that they've handled everything else that's come before them, and that's the reason why that we brought the city manager in and his team. And so I'm in favor in this with this request going forward. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to direct the manager to move forward?
Mayor, I, Jimmy Williams, move that this council directs city manager to negotiate in good faith the sale of the bowling alley to, what's the name of your company, Jane? RT Automotive?
RT Automotive.
Automotive.
LLC.
Yes, LLC.
I'm going to second that motion.
Moved and seconded. Any final comments, Mr. Burgess?
To Mr. Williams, with that motion, is that dollar figure that you're hoping to negotiate up to the city is?
Yeah, I'm all for making the city whole, and I hope all of the work in which Mr. J have done will come up to that respect of making the city whole. I'm absolutely for that, okay. And I will hope, Mr. J, that will not be a deal breaker in this negotiation process.
Okay, I just
so I'm
want to
clear
make sure that
on
was-
that. Yes.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Fairclough?
Yes, that was going to be my question also, as far as the pricing. And then if we can get some information as far as HUD also, that would be great.
I was going to ask for direction to be clear.
Yes.
That the risk, in terms of negotiating this contract, that the risk of any repayment by HUD would be on the buyer, not on the city. Am I on the right page?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Maldonado?
Question through the mayor to the staff manager and Richard. When we first started talking about this many years ago, did we not cover that area more or less? And this is just a question.
Yeah, I think you may have been out at the Cal meeting. I don't think you were at the Cal meeting last week.
No, I wasn't. So that's why I asked the question.
What I explained was that we had this issue resolved, and we had a letter from HUD saying that there would be no repayment from the city.
That's what I thought.
A finance director who's no longer with us, for some reason or another, decided that that wasn't such a great answer, or she wasn't clear on the answer, and she wrote to HUD and got an opposite answer. So we have two conflicting letters from HUD, one saying that there's not going to be any repayment obligations, and another saying that there is. And so that's a risk, a real risk. Okay. And so what we've been doing in the contract, in the prior contract or contracts that we've had on the bowling alley, we put in a clause that said that we fully disclose the fact that this risk exists, and that to the extent there's any repayment required, it's the responsibility of the buyer.
Thank you.
Can I ask?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Please, go right ahead. Yes, sir.
To the city attorney, do you have a number on that HUD number?
No, the manager asked us today to try to come up. Okay. First of all, I'm not going to be able to give you a number because it's not up to me. Okay. What the repayment's going to be. It's going to be up to, my suggestion would be, is I assume that you're going to retain, and I certainly don't want the city to make any representations with respect to a number. I assume that you're going to be represented by an attorney in this transaction, and it's not my place to give you advice, but if I was purchasing the property and knowing that this clause is going to be in the contract, your attorney needs to advise you as to your potential liability, because the city is making no representations at all as to what that liability could be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no more questions? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess? Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough?
Yes.
Councilwoman Woolman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shelley?
No.
Mayor Porter?
No.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Business from the city manager.
Mayor, I thought I'd give the chief the opportunity to talk about his day today.
Mr. Chief.
Well, in all honesty, we are happy and we can breathe. You know, today was I should say it was an awesome day for Homestead Police Department. We were able to leave that building that we was in since 1985 to a temporary station that city manager, the mayor and council
I gotta go see him.
graciously provided for us. It took a little while, but the department was so gracious that it even came up that everybody was ecstatic about the wait and more ecstatic about moving in today. 3 o'clock today, we was able to have our first roll call, and everyone, believe it or not, was so happy and was so thrilled to be in that new building. It was just like a breath of fresh air, which literally that's what we got today. So again, thank you all so much. We're gonna do, I guess the ribbon cutting Wednesday, 25th at 3 o'clock and 4.
It's Wednesday. I don't know the date.
The 25th.
3 o'clock.
25th, 3 o'clock.
25th?
It's on the calendars already.
25th, right.
25th. Okay, 25th at 3 o'clock. I think I'm correct. So if anyone want to come out, I guess, and take a little tour, we would really appreciate it because, again, and I always say this all the time. Without you, there's no me. In this case, without you, there's no us, because the citizens of this community, not only that they move us out of that infested building to a temporary station, they also stood up to the plate and they gave us the funds to build a 3-story brand new facility in this city that's never been done before. And I've been here at this department since 1979-80. So we have to commend the community. That shows how much they believe in us and how much they love us. And in return, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that this city is safe. Whatever we have to do, we're going to do that. And that's just a payback from the mayor, the council, city manager, and the police chief of the city of Homestead. So with that being said, thank you all so much. We're up and we're ready to go, and hopefully this day forward, we're just going to prosper in this town because all I see is good things happening. So thank you all very much, Mayor, City Manager. Really appreciate it.
Mayor, just to echo that, thank you all for believing in us and protecting us from contaminants and giving us the space that we need to do our jobs. And congratulations also to the staff, Kate and Julio and their teams, Dennis and all the procurement, all the people that were involved with helping out, electric and everybody. It was a real team effort, and we'll have more to say about that next week. But and you'll also see if you start taking your tours, there's punch list items, and so we're in between TCO and CO, and there's some more work to be done. But the switchover day was today, and that's a big milestone for us.
Absolutely. And last but not least, we got to give Julio the credit. This guy has been our guardian angel since day one. We started this project, and these guys behind the scene that people don't recognize, don't understand what role he played in getting this thing done. He has his own job to do, and he decided to just walk through this with us, and we can't thank him enough, Dennis. And it's like I said, when the time appropriate, which is next winter, we would definitely talk about these individuals. But it's been nothing but a team effort. And I tell you right now, and I say it all the time, if you're going to work somewhere with a group of people, this staff is who you want to work with. It's not one day we ask for something here and we don't get it done. This has got to be, in my 35 years, this is the best staff and the best city that I've ever been around in my entire life.
Great.
So again, I want to thank you all so much, and just a blessing.
And we may need a little extra funds for therapy for Lieutenant Bell, because he's practically lived there for a good amount of time.
Can't leave him out.
And also, the thing that was most telling to me about how cooperative the police department has been with this is, walked in yesterday and police officers were assembling furniture. I know other departments where they'd walk in, they say, hey, when are the movers coming in to build the furniture? And so the fact that they'd pitch in and help and do their things, and along the way we needed some cost-saving efforts, and the chief and his team were more than reasonable and cooperative, and it's really been a pleasure to deal with everybody. And And so that's phase one. Phase two, we got a building to build, and that's on the next one that we've got to pay special attention to. But I'd say that's the big news for us for this week.
Mayor,
Mr. Williams?
point of personal privilege. I like that.
Go ahead.
Because it gives, you have to grant it. You have to grant it. It's no. I think we ought to give the chief a raise and dollar amounts. That's how you really show appreciation. I don't know what the chief makes now, but I'm pretty sure he needs a raise with all of this. And so, Georgia, your budgetary, you make sure the chief gets a raise. I'm pretty sure my colleagues will help me voice that because he deserves a raise. And not only that, but he has done a marvelous job. And, you know, we all at times have bad apples, but that does not make the entire basket bad. So, you know, that is to be said and to be commended. And thank you so much, Mayor. And I'm going to watch Empire.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Any reports from City Attorney? Council reports, Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. And George, I think, you know, I said not to spend $1 over $3 million, but I'll give $1 to help Lieutenant Bell. So, anyway, couple quick things. The entrance to the Park of Commerce off of 328, we can't find out who owns the property over there, but at some point we need to find out who owns that building that's dilapidated and is a hazard to the kids that are coming in and out of that school. For 6 or 8 months, I've been asking our Development Services Department who owns it. They can't find out. They won't do anything about it. It's time to get it done. And we've also got signs over there that are from companies that have been bankrupt and out of business for 4 or 5 years now that should be removed. The school's got a dilapidated sign laying around over there. That place really looks bad. So if we could get somebody over there to find out, first of all, who owns that dilapidated building that evidently nobody wants to claim, I would appreciate it. And I know that the citizens from my side of town and the people over there would appreciate that being cleaned up. Well, there's not much left to take because the guy drove his car through half of it. That's what I'm trying to say. So we need to clean that up. Secondly, the Development Services. 4 or 5 months ago, I asked about getting us some language to take the ability for developers to use lakes as green space, and I've yet to see anything. So I'm just wondering when's that going to be presented?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we had determined that the language is already in there, correct? Or
We did, and
Yeah.
Development Services is currently preparing a presentation that we'd be happy to take to account or to submit through the manager's office to discuss the
right through their findings,
language.
and it can stop me if I'm wrong, but through their findings, they said the language has already changed. The reason why that's been facing you with some of these applications was because they were working under the old rules and they had
So it's
entitlements.
done, but
You want
we
to
had-
confirm
we-
that?
We had spoken about limiting it to about 20%. Is that what the language says? Or a cap of 20%?
It currently starts at 20%, and developers can request for additional
No,
credits.
see, that's not what we had asked for up here at our meeting. We had requested that 20% be the cap, so we need to make sure that that's where it is.
We are also looking at language for modification, which we'll be ready to present next month.
Okay, thank you. Just following up, because I hadn't heard anything about it.
Your presentation will be ready for next month.
Yes, sir.
To Mr. Brea, I know that the detour there on 328 has seemed to take a little longer than what we anticipated. And that's a major detour. And my comment is, when we have something like that, we need to reach out to the county, because the light at Maury and Highway 1 is not set up for the amount of traffic that's going through there. And that's been a point of frustration for myself that drives it, and for a lot of citizens that are complaining to me, is that light only allows a couple cars to go through because it's set up for the daily thing. So if we have any more big detours like this anywhere in the city, I would ask that we reach out to the county or whoever it is, and we kind of look and think through the pattern of where the cars are going to be, so we can help out the flow of traffic a little bit.
Absolutely, will do. And regarding the detour, I was out there this morning actually because we're pushing the contractor to open up at least one lane. But I went out there, and opening up one lane would just create more safety issues than it's actually going to solve. They're working on getting beyond the Aquarius trailer park, basically, and getting closer to US 1 within the next 2 weeks, and then we'll be able to open up both lanes, east and west of that location. And then we'll be working our way to the west and opening up the roadway completely, both lanes. Doing one lane at a time, it's, when I was out there were cars trying to go in the same, opposite direction, and there's a lot of heavy construction equipment. We're putting in a 3-foot diameter pipe 15 feet down into the ground. So the construction is major. There's a lot of utilities out there, so.
I know it was a big job, but I just think that we need to have the forethought as we move forward with projects like this so that we can help out instead of making it a bigger problem somewhere down the road for everybody if we can work and.
Absolutely. I'll get with the county in the morning and make sure that
as we move forward.
And they will work with us. We can be able to modify that, I'm sure, to make it a lot more cars to go through it.
One last thing. I just came back from Tallahassee this afternoon, and I would encourage, if anybody's going up for days, that they stop by and see Senator Alan Hayes from Lake County. He's in the Appropriations Committee. He was very hospitable to myself and the mayor when we were there a month or so ago as we looked for money for water projects, and he was, it seems like we got his attention. So I would say that if we go by and keep kicking the door open and saying hello and letting them know that we're anticipating the money down there, that we really need it, I think it would be beneficial in the end. So if anybody gets an opportunity with that, I'll say thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your hard work going up there, and it's not a fun couple of days, as the manager would say. Mr. Maldonado.
Thank you, Mayor. So went to DC and I brought some good things back. Well, not all good. I brought a cold back, as you can hear. It's very cold over there, and I am so happy I'm down here. I know, Mr. Manager, why you're no longer in New York City. I don't get it, but hey, to each his own. Nonetheless, I was in Washington last week and for the National League of Cities conference. The National League of Cities is always fighting for the small cities in which that's who we are, and we represent. Just going over there doing some advocacy, one of the main issues that all cities had is transportation. It's funny because we had a round table, and you had every department from the U.S. There, represented. And the table that got most of the attention had a line was transportation. So nonetheless, we have some information in regards that I'll be sharing with you, so see if we could continue to shake that tree. The president also unveiled while we were there, and we were able to hear him speak with this tech hire initiative that he's rolling out, President Obama, that is. And, I think I understand, because I'm in that field, that most of the jobs, there are a lot of jobs here in the U.S., but the problem is that not many are qualified for it. And so he has an initiative that he rolled out that I want to try to bring forward and maybe work with the Education Committee and some of the Community Relation Board that I oversee and this council, and see what we can do to bring, those dollars that are about to get rolled out down here to Homestead and make some type of a push to tap into that. That's it for me. I can't talk anymore. Have a good one.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Fairclough.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to kind of reiterate the support for the Mayor's Youth Council Coins for College campaign. If your business is interested in housing one of their jars for the Coins for College, please email me at pfaircloth@cityofhomestead.com. If you're interested in contributing to the Coins for College campaign, there will be jars at Chefs on the Run, Portofino Coal-Fired Pizza, the Whistle Stop Restaurant, Jersey Boardwalk Pizza, Robux Fresh Juices and Smoothies, Kai's Realty, Robert is here, and hopefully your business next. So we greatly appreciate the support to help our MYC get kids off to college. In addition to that, I will be hosting, along with Career Source South Florida, a local job fair for 18 to 24-year-old Homestead residents on April 11th at Harris Field from 9 to 11 a.m. If there are any 18 to 24-year-old Homestead residents with proof of address who's interested in obtaining a job, please meet me on April 11th at Harris Field from 9 to 11 a.m. That's it. Oh, wait, one more thing. Chief Roll, thank you so much for the tour. Had an opportunity to visit the temporary site and just to see the synergy and energy taking place in that building was very, very, very inspiring to see the officers and the staff, the smiles on their faces. Like you said, it was truly a breath of fresh air in every sense of the word. I won't be able to participate in the ribbon cutting on Wednesday because I'll be in New York with the Mayor's Youth Council. But know that you have my blessings and my full support, and I am so thankful for the manager, Julio, and everyone that played a role in getting into that temporary facility. God's best to you.
Thank you. Ms. Waldman, are you on the phone still?
Yes, Mayor, yes.
You're up.
Before I go into my business, I too want to congratulate everybody in the city, as the chief did very graciously, for the support that we had with the temporary police station. I had an opportunity to tour it before it was quite finished, and I can imagine how wonderful it is now, today. I think, what was your roll call, 3 o'clock today, Chief? I can't see you, so I'm assuming it's around about 3 or 4 o'clock, so I'm sure everybody was very, very happy. I wanted to also say that, excuse me, I think I've got Mr. Maldonado's cold here. I also wanted to say that on March 22nd, we're having the 6th annual Biscayne Everglades Bicycle Festival on Homestead Miami Speedway, and that happens to be this Sunday. So this year, the Fat Tire Ride will offer a 42-mile ride in addition to a 10-mile ride to Biscayne National Park. The 42-mile ride and the other ride as well will be utilizing the Biscayne Everglades Greenway. We have rental bikes, which will be available again as last year. You'll have to call Parks and Rec for that information. And their number is 305-224-4570. Really excited about this. We have, I don't know, close to 200 riders already signed up, and we'll have probably a lot more the morning of the ride. I'd also like to announce that Parks and Rec, oh my goodness, we'll be having our annual Easter egg hunt, and that's going to be on Friday, March 27th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at Harris Field. The tickets are on sale now at Parks and Rec. There's $5 per child. Again, that phone number is 305-224-4570. We always have a huge crowd for this Easter egg hunt, and I think it's not going to be any different this year. I mean, we sometimes have, a couple thousand kids out there. So if you're interested, make sure you get your tickets early. Dennis, I don't think we have a limit on tickets, do we? Or are you doing that this year?
Councilwoman Wallman, we do have a limit on the ticket sales. I believe it's $350.
Okay, well, we didn't used to have a limit, remember? We had so many kids. I mean, they couldn't even see. I actually lost one of my grandchildren one year because there were so many kids. So I'm glad to know there is a limit, although a limit is going to limit the fun and the activity for Homestead kids. So please, if you have any desire to go, please make sure you get those tickets early because evidently they're going to be gone. Dennis, are you just having, because we haven't met on this, are you just having one field this year, or are you opening the 2 or 3 fields?
No, ma'am. We are using the 3 fields. What we did is the concern of how many kids that get involved for safety purposes, and of course we still have the play field with all the rock climbing and the games for the kids, which they can come and do for that for free.
They don't need a ticket for that?
I didn't hear your question.
They do not need a ticket for that?
No, ma'am.
But then you have to tell those little kids, no, you can't hunt Easter eggs.
Yes, ma'am. What it is that we, when they come, if they don't do the Easter egg hunts, then we let them go to the play area.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll talk about all that. But anyway, thank you, Mayor. I hope everybody has a good night. I'm sorry I wasn't able to come. I'll go ahead and say the name. We lost a really wonderful person Monday. Brenda Dykes. She is from a Homestead family that's been around for years and years and years. Actually, she's James Sutton's sister-in-law. She fought an 11-year battle with cancer, and she lost her battle on Monday. And her involvement with the Rodeo Association has been forever. I mean, she's just been such a wonderful community supporter. Her son, Buster Tires, she has two sons, but her son, Buster, he passed away a couple years ago, and he was one of our little angels, and we took care of him for many, many, many years. So she's with him now, and it's just very, very sad. And I thank you for indulging me to be on the phone tonight, Mayor. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one quick item for staff, actually, and that deals with in the northwest area, up and down 15th Street and Redland Road, there's a lot of what seems to be perpetual garage sales, flea markets, where they have just piles of clothes out in the yard, and it's occurring every weekend, Saturday and Sunday. They're putting their cars out on the right-of-ways, all up and down. And some of it's all not on the city. There's a lot of it in the city. More of it occurs in the county as well, but it keeps spreading. So if there's any way we could get out there and maybe see if we could kind of tamper that down, as well as working with the county and trying to get the county to also focus on the areas that are immediately adjacent to the city so that we can kind of keep that in check.
Chief.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a couple of requests for appointment. We have Mr. Manuel Laura in the back room, and you and Larry Mino, you guys have been sitting here all night for the very, very last part of the agenda. I commend you for doing that. And also a request to appoint Ramiro Orta to the Public Arts Committee. Is there a motion?
Make the motion.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, newest and last member of the Planning and Zoning Board. Put a lot of faith in you guys to do the right things for us and help us flush out all the information you possibly can, and appreciate your service to the community. I want to take a little I basically want to say to my mom, congratulations for being one of the Women of the Year, and Patricia, thank you for acknowledging all of them. They're a treasure. My mom's a treasure, and I'm very, very proud of her, and thank you for doing that for us. The only other thing I'd really like to say is I want to be very sincere when I compliment you as council members. You know, what we saw tonight normally would have been a fisticuff up here. But the professionalism that you all bring to the table, and the lively, healthy discussion, and just trying to help us all get to the better end result is why we're successful. And to each and every one of you, I really do appreciate that. And Chief's got a new building because of this council. And like you said, it's over 100 years. You've moved into an old bank, you've lived in a little shed out behind the city hall, you've been everywhere, but now after 100 years, the voters believe in you enough to put their money where you can get a brand new state-of-the-art facility. So these people got it done, and the voter voted not as much for you, but as much for the leadership as you have up here. So I want to thank you all very much. Manager, your staff, you guys are doing a really great job. We're loading you up. Keep doing it. But thank you very much. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Motion carried. Good night, everyone. Thank you.